Hello everyone, this is Fantasy Audiobook. Here you find original fan made audio
Curse
stories.
System. The Hero Who Became a Monster. Part 1. The blazing sun hung high, and a rainbow pierced through. No, wait, wrong set. A crescent moon hung in the sky, and dark clouds pressed low. In the suburbs stood a long abandoned villa, a place rarely visited by anyone. The surroundings were filled with a desolate atmosphere sufficient for filming a horror movie. Oh my, is this the monster of this world? It's truly terrifying. A pink-haired, blue-eyed girl appeared out of thin air in front of the villa's entrance. Her long, curly pink hair shimmered under the moonlight as she looked up at the building shrouded in black mist, her eyes sparkling with eagerness. Only something like this is worthy of this great goddess personally dealing with it. She hoped it wouldn't disappoint her. The world consciousness asked hesitantly, Great One, what happened to your eyes? Bailey Shuan chuckled and explained, That's right, it's exactly what you're thinking. I'm just using them temporarily. Like an extension of the sky, aren't they beautiful? World consciousness. Is this goddess really reliable? World consciousness. Great One, having accompanied you this far, I must return to my slumber. May you have good fortune in battle. Bailey Shuan waved her hand. Wrong, it's, have a good time. Very well, I wish you a pleasant time. I look forward to your good news. Thank you for being willing to lend a hand and save this world, strange and great goddess. Good luck. Bailey Shuan had come to save this world. To be precise, she had saved countless small worlds on the brink of collapse. As a deity, her life was long and lonely, so she turned her gaze toward the myriad corners of the universe in need of salvation. She had traveled through countless worlds, making contracts with their consciousnesses to assist them through their perils. However, for the omnipotent great goddess, all of this was merely like vacationing in a different place. Bailey Shuan, Proud Cat.jpg. After finishing a several thousand-year vacation work in a world called Tavit, she saw this small world before her that was about to shatter. The little light sphere representing the world consciousness floated precariously before her. In the future deduced by the world consciousness, she saw a country with few people left and a filthy white long-haired cat that had been cut in half. Bailey Shuan. Bailey Shuan. Even though, it was the first time she thought white hair and blue eyes looked so good. Great goddess. It's fine, leave it to me. I am an omnipotent goddess. Animal cruelty is unforgivable. She took the job. As the world consciousness quietly departed, a smile curled on Bailey Shuan's lips. She gently pushed open the rust-stained gate and stepped into the courtyard. The iron gate let out a piercing creak and wobbled. Bailey Shuan. Iron gate. Creak, creak. Bailey Shuan. Finally, the iron gate ended its life and fell to the ground. No way. Is it really that fragile? The embarrassment on Bailey Shuan's face was fleeting. This goddess truly possesses boundless power. Bailey Shuan stepped inside the villa. The entire area was shrouded in a heavy black curtain. She looked back but saw nothing. A barrier. Interesting. In the long uninhabited villa, clutter was piled up like mountains. The sound of high heels hitting the wooden floor created a dull echo that resonated through the quiet villa. Bailey Shuan took a one-handed sword from her inventory space to push aside the obstacles in front of her. The inventory was obtained from the previous world, it was quite useful. If anyone else had been present, they would have only seen her manifest a sword out of thin air. The first floor of the villa was clean, the monster wasn't there. After searching the first floor, Bailey Shuan slowly headed toward the second floor. The moment she stepped onto the second floor, she noticed the floor was very strange. It felt soft underfoot, yet the sound of each step she took grew louder and louder. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Aside from her footsteps, the villa was deathly quiet. Was it intentionally creating a horror atmosphere? Did it want to instill fear? Oh dear, I hate using my brain the most. Since it's going to die anyway, wouldn't it be better to just come out and let her kill it? But it wouldn't be fun if it were too easy. The second floor was a long corridor with many rooms on both sides. Bailey Shuan didn't have the patience to check them one by one, so she raised her sword and gave a light swing forward. A rift appeared out of thin air, and she stepped inside without hesitation. The passage behind her instantly shook violently. A transparent, sticky liquid seeped from the walls, dripping onto the floor and quickly corroding the spot where she had just been standing. A moment later, the floor returned to its original state, and the villa returned once more to a deathly silence. Truly disgusting, Bailey Shuan whispered with a frown. Emerging from the rift, she found herself in front of a door. A sign hung on the door with the word, kitchen, written on it. It seems this monster is quite good at hiding its food reserves. The kitchen was on the first floor. Bailey Shuen had checked it carefully before coming upstairs, and there was nothing. Now, looking at the fresh bloodstains on the door, she raised an eyebrow. This wasn't there on the first floor. So the other people are here. Bailey Shuen pushed the door open and easily caught a kitchen knife flying toward her. Oh my, that was close. She looked at the three startled high school students before her with a beaming smile and raised her hand in greeting. Hi, hello there. Thank you for the warm welcome. Sorry. The three said in unison, their faces filled with guilt. Oh, I see. You three heard the rumors about this villa and came for a test of courage. Bailey Shuen sat on the kitchen counter, swinging her legs. The three high school students stood there like children who had done something wrong. For some reason, they didn't dare look at Bailey Shuen. Yes, the leader, pot-lid head, said, looking like he was about to cry. We didn't expect the rumors to be true. This haunted house really has a ghost. Kenjiro almost. If we can get out alive, I'll never. You guys are quite brave. Bailey Shuen jumped off the counter and walked over to them. Even if you're injured or might be killed, you're still protecting your companions. Really? Pot-lid head's cheeks flushed slightly at the sudden praise. He straightened his back and said with a trembling yet firm voice, don't worry. We'll protect you too. Ha ha ha, youth is so wonderful, Bailey Shuen teased, recalling a line she had seen somewhere. It's really made my liver spots fade quite a bit. The three, huh? A mischievous smile curled on Bailey Shuen's lips. She pushed the door open and looked back. But you should leave this kind of thing to me. I am the great goddess, after all. Minors should stay obediently behind a god. Before she finished speaking, she walked away, leaving the three stunned in place. Ch Chunibyo. Hey, wait. The three rushed to the door, but it was as if it were locked. They couldn't open it no matter what. Outside, Bailey Shuen nonchalantly set up a barrier, then walked firmly in a specific direction. Now that she'd found the survivors, it was time to wrap this up quickly. She'd need to find a place to stay once she got out. As a goddess, it would be too undignified to just sleep under a bridge. If all else failed, spending a night in this villa wasn't out of the question. But then again, maybe it won't be necessary. March 2017. Window detected a special grade cursed womb gestating in an abandoned villa in the Tokyo suburbs. 3 students are trapped inside, their fates unknown. Woe tilde. Outside the villa shrouded in the cursed spirit's domain, Gojo Satoru lifted the white bandages wrapped around his eyes, letting them slide down his fingers. He raised his blue eyes to inspect the house before him, which was stained pitch black with cursed energy. How interesting. But there are clearly 4 people, including a strange fellow with super tilde weak cursed energy. Bang. With a loud bang, Bailey Shuen kicked down the shattered door. A massive, pitch-black womb was stuck to the ceiling in the corner, throbbing like a heart. Bailey Shuen inspected the cursed womb with interest, her words filled with mockery and provocation. Is this the monster of this world? What a little cutie. Let me give you a good death. The cursed womb throbbed even more violently. Bailey Shuen switched to a spear. While poking the cursed womb, she teased with interest, is this an egg? It is, right. Will it hatch? Hey, were you born from a mother? So monsters in this world can reproduce. This barrier was your doing too, right? The energy source is the same. Wow, are monsters in this world so competitive? Learning barrier techniques before even being born. No wonder this great goddess needs to save this place. Hey, why aren't you talking? You know barrier techniques but you can't speak. Cursed womb. Cursed womb. I'm cracking up. The spear Bailey Shuen was using to poke the cursed womb was suddenly grabbed by a hand reaching out from within. It wasn't exactly a hand. Striped objects like crimson tentacles vaguely showed 3 fingers. They wrapped around the tip of the spear, dripping with slime that emitted a wisp of white smoke as it hit the floor. Bailey Shuen. To be honest, it stinks a bit, like poop. This thing also looks like it's made of poop. The slime slid down the spear without corroding it at all. Bailey Shuen immediately let go. Bailey Shuen. I can't keep this spear anymore. It would have been better if it had just corroded. Smiley face. The cursed spirit completely broke free from its restraints, falling to the ground and letting out a low growl. So hungry. So hungry. Bailey Shuen couldn't help but be speechless. So you can talk, even if you only shout about being hungry. I regret this. What an ugly, little cutie. I should have finished it off while it was still in the womb. The cursed spirit before her coiled like poop. Its two hands quickly attacked her, and a small opening appeared between its three fingers, squirting slime at her. Bailey Shuan couldn't help but sigh. Life is truly unpredictable, like a large intestine wrapped in a small intestine. Her movements were agile as she easily dodged the attacks, observing it while enduring the disgust. Having missed its mark, the cursed spirit stretched into a long rope, wrapping around her along the walls of the room and quickly tightening in an attempt to strangle her. No way, killing it like this would be disgusting. No choice then. The domain disappeared. When Gojo Satoru arrived, he saw pieces of the cursed spirit scattering through the air like falling flower petals and quickly activated Limitless manually. Oh no. Limitless can't block out the air. Gag. When the remains of flesh and blood hit the ground, Gojo Satoru saw a pink-haired girl sitting on the clean floor amidst the surrounding gore, smiling peacefully with her eyes closed. Only the patch of ground around her was clean. Gojo Satoru walked over with Limitless active and reached out to poke her. It was hard and touchable, it wasn't Limitless. The first poke was blocked by a transparent wall, but the second one reached the girl's head. He poked a few more times. An anger vein popped on Bailey Shuan's forehead. Forget it, it's normal for a cat to act like this. She opened her eyes and looked at the white-haired, blue-eyed man. The barrier is open to you. Come in. For real. This is hilarious. Gojo Satoru looked into blue eyes that were no different from his own and stepped into the barrier. How to describe this feeling? It was very comfortable. Something he hadn't experienced since birth. The effects of the six eyes were still there, but all the burdens they brought had vanished. He was very relaxed, even feeling a bit sleepy. Special grade Gojo, who hadn't rested properly since learning the reverse curse technique, wanted to just drift off to sleep like this. What is this? Despite the terrible environment and a complete stranger. And those suspicious, six eyes. This barrier can isolate all external intrusions and eliminate all internal negative effects, including poisonous gas attacks. I call it, debuff nullification. Bailey Shuan stood up and spread her arms, introducing it with quite a bit of pride. She stared into Gojo Satoru's eyes, stood on her tiptoes to get closer, and smiled. They really are beautiful. Gojo Satoru cooperatively bent down until their noses almost touched, but neither of them noticed the lack of personal space. Right. My six eyes are good looking, aren't they? These are great teacher Gojo's UNIQUE six eyes. Of course they're beautiful, I took a liking to them at first glance. Though, these eyes consume quite a bit of energy, Bailey Shuan blinked, and her azure pupils instantly returned to their original violet. By the way, are they called six eyes? Do you have six eyes that you rotate through? Like when one runs out of power, you take it out to charge and swap in another. How scary. Gojo Satoru hugged himself in mock terror. They're the six eyes from Buddhism. Bailey Shuan looked at the white hair swaying in front of her and nodded thoughtfully. I see. I really want to pet him. But some cats might get stressed if petted by a stranger, right? Love is restraint, she held back this time. So, what was the deal with Pinky-chan's six eyes just now? Gojo Satoru said with a smile, but his eyes were full of seriousness. What's with Pinky-chan? I am the great Bailey Shuan. Bailey Shuan changed back to the six eyes. I constructed it. Gojo Satoru's azure eyes widened. Is this Shuan-chan's curse technique? I can see it clearly, those are genuine six eyes. What curse technique? I am a god, the omnipotent great goddess. Chunibyo. So, how did things turn out like this? Gojo Satoru lay on the sofa, lost in thought. Time goes back to last night. After leaving the gas-filled area, Bailey Shuan still hadn't deactivated the barrier. Gojo Satoru was comfortable inside and wouldn't ask her to deactivate it. He thought in a good mood that perhaps Bailey Shuan kept it open just for him. As expected, the handsome Gojo Satoru's, charm was boundless. Maybe Jujutsu High will have another student this year. Activating a barrier requires cursed energy, but the energy source of this barrier didn't seem to be cursed energy. If not for the six eyes, it would be impossible to tell. How interesting, I can't figure it out, so I'll just ask directly tilde. Shuan-chan tilde, your cursed energy is so low, how did you kill that cursed spirit? Gojo Satoru asked with low EQ. Cursed energy. What's that? So that monster was a cursed spirit. Bailey Shuan looked up and chuckled. A mere cursed spirit, this great deity is omnipotent. Gojo Satoru ignored the latter half of her sentence and casually formed a blue ball of light. This is cursed energy. Oh tilde, I see. Wait a moment. Gojo Satoru didn't want to recall what happened next. He watched helplessly as Bailey Shuan's cursed energy, which was initially similar to an assistant supervisor's, rapidly increased, enveloping her entirely. Wait. Stop it quickly. The bottomless mass of cursed energy before him. Ah. Is this enough? Seeing a cursed technique that even the six eyes couldn't see through for the first time, Gojo Satoru's brain was about to crash, but it couldn't crash inside the barrier. What on earth is this cursed technique? Setting aside the six eyes, how can you even construct cursed energy? HMPH, it's the power of a deity, of course it's omnipotent. Bailey Shuan looked at the bristling cat before her and licked her canines. What's wrong, is it still not enough? With that, the mass of cursed energy expanded once more. Gojo Satoru, stop it. I said it's enough. I don't believe your angry words. Bailey Shuan remembered something, her lips curling into a wicked arc. Look, is, big brother, impressive. Do you like it? Gojo Satoru. Ah. Bailey Shuan. Don't scream, you're OOC. Alright, I'll stop teasing you. Bailey Shuan retracted her cursed energy. Teasing a cat must be done in moderation, too much is as bad as too little. If the cat gets used to it, it won't be fun next time. Seeing Bailey Shuan return to normal, Gojo Satoru silently breathed a sigh of relief. He was finally starting to understand how Yaga used to feel. Gojo Satoru. Exhausted smile. Bailey Shuan turned serious. Alright, stop messing around. Tell me about cursed spirits. Even a deity needs to understand the world's setting to save it. Gojo Satoru. For a moment, Gojo Satoru didn't know where to start his retort. And besides, I don't want to become the straight man. Cursed spirits are products of the negative emotions of ordinary people. For example, that fellow you just destroyed was the manifestation of people's fear of bulimia. Everyone has cursed energy in their body, and those who can use it are jujutsu sorcerers, they can see cursed spirits. However, there are exceptions, like the heavenly restriction that has zero cursed energy yet can see cursed spirits. Both cursed spirits and jujutsu sorcerers are graded from grade 4 to special grade. That thing just now was a special grade cursed womb, and I am the strongest among special grades tilde. Fine, from now on, this deity is the strongest. Without waiting for Gojo Satoru to react, Bailey Shuan continued, Jujutsu sorcerers are born that way, ordinary people can't kill cursed spirits. Lord Gojo wouldn't argue with someone suffering from chunibyo, so he ignored Bailey Shuan's previous sentence and replied, 90 points. Indeed, ordinary people usually cannot directly perceive or fight cursed spirits, but they can use specific cursed tools to achieve this. There are cursed tools that allow ordinary people to see cursed spirits, and they can use cursed tools to kill them too. You jujutsu sorcerers have an organization, right? Gojo Satoru tilted his head and looked at Bailey Shuan with a smile, that's right. Although the higher-ups of the higher-ups are all rotten oranges, Jujutsu High is full of young people like Shuan-chan. What grade are you in now, Shuan-chan? Do you want to join Jujutsu High? It's the Tokyo Metropolitan Cursed Technical College. Are you from Jujutsu High too? Bailey Shuan pressed. Gojo Satoru struck a playful pose, that's right. Come on, I'm a teacher at Jujutsu High. Does it include room and board? That's very important. If not, she'd have to extort the cat. Of course it's included, and you even get a salary for doing missions. This mission counts for Shuan-chan too, there's these much. Going to Jujutsu High meant she could be colleagues with the cat, and the benefits weren't bad either. She just wondered if she could become the principal. Bailey Shuan took a deep breath, I'm in. It's getting late, it's time to head back. Where do you live, Shuan-chan? Gojo Satoru asked. At your place, Bailey Shuan answered without hesitation. Didn't you say room and board were included? Does Shuan-chan want to live with her teacher that much? Gojo Satoru covered his face, pretending to be shy. Calling himself a teacher in front of a colleague. Whatever, this great deity wouldn't hold a grudge against a cat. Bailey Shuan said with a straight face, this great deity has just descended into this world, shouldn't you host me properly? The two chatted as they walked, but they both felt as if they had forgotten something important. At that moment, Gojo Satoru spoke up, Shuan-chan, don't you think we've forgotten something? Bailey Shuan thought long and hard, then suddenly clapped her hands, I remember now. You haven't said what your name is. Gojo Satoru gave a speechless look, I am the handsome Gojo Satoru. Oh, Go-chan. Shuan-chan, I still feel like there's something I haven't remembered, Gojo Satoru frowned in thought. It seems so. Bailey Shuan also felt puzzled, and the two of them worked together to recall the forgotten matter. The trapped people haven't been rescued yet. The kitchen trio. On the other side, Pot Lid Head and his two companions were hugging each other tightly, tears flowing like a fountain. Pot Lid Head sobbed, "Wah, do you think something happened to her? She's been out for so long and hasn't come back. What if she already left? But, wah, this is a ghost. We don't even know her name." Another high school student said. "We can't just sit and wait for death. The Chunabu war god sacrificed herself heroically for us, we must avenge her." The third high school student declared. "Wah, Mom, I really miss the tamagoyaki you make." Pot Lid Head reminisced about the warmth of home, tears wetting his pot lid helmet. "Forget it, my 6 eyes can see clearly that there are no more cursed spirits there. I'll call Ijichi and let him handle it," Gojo Satoru decided with a clap of his hands. "Ijichi. Is he logistics?" "Yes, Ijichi is my assistant supervisor. Assistant supervisors follow along on missions to handle the aftermath. Shuan-chan will find out soon enough." And that's how it went. That night, Bailey Shuan occupied Gojo Satoru's bed. Because Gojo Satoru lived alone, he hadn't prepared any other rooms, so he had to curl up his legs and sleep miserably on the sofa. As compensation, Bailey Shuan expanded the barrier to the living room. When Gojo Satoru woke up, although half his body was outside, it was still the best sleep he'd had in years. Having rested a few hours more than usual, his phone was nearly blowing up with calls. Time to start working again. Stepping out of the barrier, Gojo Satoru swayed uncomfortably for a moment, but in the next second, he began running his reverse curse technique as usual. After Gojo Satoru left, Bailey Shuan got out of bed. Yesterday was too rushed to take a good look at this temporary residence. She wandered around casually. The apartment was minimalist to the point of being cold. Aside from essential living facilities, there were almost no extra decorations or personal touches. The walls were blank, the furniture had sharp lines, and the color palette was monotonous, like a functional fortress meant only for rest. This is way too bland. Is this what a single man who has become a corporate slave looks like? She began to worry if she would also be too busy to enjoy life after joining Jujutsu High. She was getting a bit hungry. Bailey Shuan went to the kitchen and opened the fridge to forage for food. The refrigerator was packed, but without exception, it was all various kinds of desserts. Cream cakes, chocolate pudding, strawberry mousse, it was like a small dessert workshop, with nothing else. She casually picked up a piece of cake. After just one bite, she froze. She took a different piece and took another bite. This Gojo Satoru guy is a total sugar head, isn't he? Won't this guy get diabetes when he's older? Whatever, it's not like it's inedible. Bailey Shuan got a glass of water and sat at the dining table with the cake. On the table was a key and a card, with a note pressed underneath. "I'll be on a business trip for a few days and won't be back. Shuan-chan, if you need anything, just take the card and go buy it. Don't worry, Teacher Gojo is very rich." At the end, a cat head was even drawn. After Gojo Satoru got into the car, he keenly noticed that Ijichi was acting strange today. For example, he kept looking at him. The handsome Gojo Satoru didn't like being stared at by men all the time. "Ijichi, if you have something to say and don't say it, I'll slap you." Gojo Satoru's words carried a hint of a joke, yet also a deterrent that couldn't be ignored. Hearing this, Ijichi couldn't help but shiver. "Gojo-san, it's like this. The 3 high schoolers from the last mission yesterday came out and immediately started looking for some Chunabu war god. I said I didn't know, so they wanted to build a cenotaph for the Chunabu war god." Huh. Gojo Satoru found it absurd. "They described her as a pink-haired high school girl," Ijichi added, hoping for some clues. PFF'd. Ijichi looked puzzled but didn't dare to ask. "It's nothing, I just thought of something funny." Gojo Satoru cleared his throat. "The Chunibyo War, PFFT. Shuan-chan was taken away by me yesterday and will become my student later. Ijichi, don't worry about it so much, just drive properly." Alright. Gojo Satoru had just pulled out his phone, wanting to tell Bailey Shuan a joke about the Chunabu war god, when he remembered it was too late yesterday and they hadn't added each other online yet. But it didn't matter, he could just add her when he got back from his business trip. Last night, even if Gojo Satoru wanted to add her, he couldn't, as the newly landed deity didn't have a phone. But she would have one today. On the other side, Bailey Shuan, who was swiping Gojo Satoru's card, was once again respectfully seen out by a shop assistant, and she immediately turned into another store. Looking at the long list of bills for the day, she finally began to feel a bit of regret. She had really brought her bad habits over. In the past, she loved going around buying things with her friends without any concept of money, then putting it on the tab. She and the cat had only known each other for a day, spending money so lavishly probably wasn't good, right? Subsequently, Bailey Shuan turned into another store while condemning herself. Sigh, I really am a materialistic, beautiful deity. It couldn't be helped, who could refuse modern technology? Besides, by her count, she hadn't played games for nearly 10,000 years, she had to buy a few more to take back. Apart from games, everything else was a necessity, she had to buy them all. After finishing her day of shopping, Bailey Shuan looked up at the racecourse in front of her. Since I'm already here, I've spent so much of Go Chan's money, let's earn some back. A 15 or 16-year-old girl walked into a dark alley, and a moment later, a woman in her mid-20s walked out. Bailey Shuan flicked the betting tickets in her hand with an expression of boredom, watching the next horse race about to begin. What? Isn't this very simple? Something that can be seen through at a glance, how can so many people never get tired of it? She completely ignored the hostile gazes and ill-intentioned looks from the people around her, looking up to gaze at the black mist like cursed spirits circling above the casino. There really are a lot of cursed spirits in this world. In just this one day, she had casually exorcised over 100 fly heads. Most cursed spirits are hideous to look at, especially that poop monster from last night. But this one looks alright. Looking at the cursed spirit changing into various forms in the air, Bailey Shuan nodded affirmatively. She wanted to catch it to play with. She did seem to have that kind of tool, she just didn't know if it could catch cursed spirits. Bailey Shuan wrapped her backpack in cursed energy and pulled out a modified the sure catch. Any creature caught by the sure catch, no matter how fierce, would become domestic after being caught. In the past, Bailey Shuan thought the person who invented this thing was a genius. After catching many, what was the difference between her and a Pokemon master? So, to escape her work as a deity in that world, she had thrown the sure catch at her friend. The friend, a kind smile. Obviously, the capture failed. Her friend, worried she was hungry, even treated her to 2 lumps on the head. What a gentle and kind friend. Bailey Shuan shed tears of emotion. Afterward, Bailey Shuan disliked how few creatures the sure catch could catch, so she heavily modified it into the sure catch 2.0, the heaven and earth net. Although it still couldn't catch humans, it seemed it could catch anything else. She could make one that caught humans, but that wouldn't be very humanitarian. Bailey Shuan aimed the heaven and earth net at the cursed spirit in the sky. That cursed spirit's grade definitely wasn't high, as it was stupidly unaware of anything. To outsiders, it looked like Bailey Shuan was sitting perfectly fine in her seat when she suddenly started doing stretching exercises, causing them to wonder. Is it from sitting too long? Lucky Tilda. After finishing her stretching, Bailey Shuan put away the capture net and got up to exchange her betting tickets. Bailey Shuan felt uncomfortable all over from the pitying look the receptionist gave her and walked out quickly. Violence wasn't allowed inside the racecourse, but it was certainly allowed outside. Not long after coming out, Bailey Shuan turned into an alley, and several people following her immediately surrounded her. Hey, you made quite a bit today, didn't you, woman? One person spoke first, his tone full of provocation. You're new here, right? Do you know the rules? Another chimed in, greed showing in his eyes. Bailey Shuan. Ah. A few minutes later, the pink-haired woman walked out of the alley again, leaving behind only a few people lying on the ground wailing. Sigh, it's hard work controlling myself so I don't beat people to death. Wouldn't it be better to just be good? Bailey Shuan sighed. Payment notifications had been ringing all day, but Gojo Satoru didn't mind. It was just that after a night had passed, seeing that there was 1,000,000 more in the card than before, Gojo Satoru fell into contemplation. Bailey Shuan's portable space was something called the Dust Song Pot, which she had obtained in her previous world. It was called the Dust Song Pot, and while it indeed looked like a teapot on the outside, there was a whole other world hidden within. Aside from the fact that time did not pass, the inside of the pot was no different from a small world. In fact, since Bailey Shuan had nowhere to stay, she could have easily lived inside the Dust Song Pot. However, once she entered the pot, any innocent person passing by would see a teapot suspended in midair. The scene was just too eerie. Even a god shouldn't go around scaring people randomly, Her conscience would bother her if she frightened someone. It was already very late by the time she returned home. The night sky was shimmering with scattered stars. Sigh, even shopping is exhausting. When working, I feel work is tiring, and when playing, I feel playing is tiring. As expected, humans are never satisfied, and the same goes for gods. I didn't get a good feel for it yesterday. Gojo Satoru isn't completely clueless about enjoying life, after all. Everything in the house is top-notch, and the bed is especially soft. Bailey Shuan lay on the bed and peacefully closed her eyes. 10 minutes later, she snapped them open. Oh no, I can't sleep at all. Ah, how can this be? I was clearly very tired today. Have I already been molded into someone who can't sleep without working? No way. I clearly worked hard to catch a cursed spirit today. Bailey Shuan tossed and turned. If I can't sleep, then so be it. Who says you have to sleep at night anyway? Can't I just sleep during the day? She was no longer the person who had worked continuously for thousands of years. She was now a freeloader swiping Gojo Satoru's card. Since I can't sleep, I might as well train the pet I caught today. Immediately, the person on the bed vanished, leaving behind only a suspended golden teapot. The sky was a boundless blue, and the sea was calm without a single wave. Several islands were fully decorated, yet they were cold and desolate, with no sign of human life. In her previous world, she could often invite friends over as guests, but now that she was in a different world, she was all alone. If it weren't for the fact that things caught by the inescapable net were automatically stored in the dust song pot, she wouldn't have wanted to come in at all. Looking at the familiar scenery inside the pot that she hadn't seen in a long time, Bailey Shuan felt refreshed. It's really been a long time since I entered the pot. The last time I was here was, well, the last time. After entering the dust song pot, Bailey Shuan looked around but didn't see the cursed spirit. There was no wind in the dust song pot, and it was sunny all year round. Bailey Shuan followed the sound and saw that pitch-black cursed spirit huddled pitifully behind the house, its shapeless black mist visibly trembling. It was surrounded by two dogs that were wagging their tails and barking at it. The cursed spirit trembled even more violently, and Bailey Shuan facepalmed in exasperation. Hey, you're a cursed spirit. How can you be afraid of dogs? Are you really that cowardly? No wonder despite being such a large cursed spirit, no one at the racecourse got into trouble because of it. Seeing Bailey Shuan approach, the cursed spirit rushed over and hid behind her, whimpering. From time to time, it would turn into a dog's head to snarl at the two dogs, then turn back and continue whimpering. Bailey Shuan. If it weren't for those big white teeth and the dog head shape, she really wouldn't have been able to tell where the head was on this pitch-black cursed spirit. Besides, having only the head turn into a dog's while the body remained a mass of black mist was just too weird. Really, she didn't know how to even begin to comment. Bailey Shuan couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed the cursed spirit behind her and began to knead and mold it. Bailey Shuan, watch my moves.jpg. The cursed spirit let out a series of sharp, continuous shrieks. The two dogs were so scared they tucked their tails between their legs, glanced at each other, and ran away. Bailey Shuan twisted the cursed spirit like a rag into a braid. Be quiet, don't disturb me. I'm thinking about what shape to mold you into. Cursed spirit. Doesn't dare to make a sound. Ah, I've got it. A chimera appeared, with a long tail, a dog-like head, legs as tall as half a person, and a body only the size of an adult's arm. Bailey Shuan. Almost there, just needs a little fine-tuning. Watch my moves. Let's change it again. Don't worry, quality work takes time, and details determine success. Bizarre, unidentified things repeatedly appeared behind the house in the dust song pot. One last time. This one will definitely look good. The cursed spirit broke free, turned into a puppy, and huddled in the corner, shivering. Looking at the little black dog in front of her, which was identical to the two that had just run away except for its color, Bailey Shuan's eyes lit up. She picked up the little black dog by its armpits and held it up. If you could change on your own, you should have just said so. Did you really have to find an excuse to admire my artistic creation? Cursed spirit. Ying ying ying. Bailey Shuan took the dog-shaped cursed spirit back into the house, went into the study, and threw several books at it. I'll give you 3 days to read and learn all of these. The puppy crouched on the floor and looked down. Animal World, Classic of Mountains and Seas, Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio. Handsome Men Magazine. Forget the ones before it, what is that last book? And why does a puppy have to study? The little black dog's outline trembled until it became black mist. Do you have any complaints? Cursed spirit. Ying. The shackles deep within its soul would not allow it to refuse. And so, the poor cursed spirit plunged into the ocean of knowledge. 3 days passed quickly. Bailey Xuan returned to the dust song pot once again. As soon as she entered the pot, a black unidentified object flew rapidly toward her through the air. Bailey Xuan raised her hand and caught it. The cursed spirit wound itself around her hand and rubbed against her gently. It had a long body, horns, scales, and claws. So it's a dragon. The cursed spirit tried its best to widen its eyes, looking at Bailey Xuan as if begging for praise. Bailey Xuan patted its head and praised, "Not bad, not bad. As expected of my cursed spirit. How about changing into something else?" The cursed spirit flew into the air and began to undergo myriad transformations. Very good, very good. Another one. Not bad, not bad. Bailey Xuan formed a ball of cursed energy and tossed it out. Go, fetch. The cursed spirit turned into a dog and brought it back in its mouth. Bailey Xuan threw it again. Again. The cursed spirit fetched it, and Bailey Xuan threw it again. Fetch again, throw again. Good dog, good dog. Bailey Xuan was delighted and rewarded the puppy with the ball of cursed energy. The puppy picked up the ball of cursed energy and swallowed it in one gulp. Its size didn't change, but its cursed energy instantly swelled. Cursed spirit, wagging its tail happily. Bailey Xuan patted the dog's head. Let's give you a name. Cursed spirit. Since you're as black as ink and so versatile, and you'll take my surname Bailey, why don't we call you Bailey Aotien? Do you like it, Aotien? Cursed spirit. Ying. Look at me, do I dare say no? JPG. Ah, that's right, you can't speak yet. Let me mold some vocal cords for you. Don't worry, I know how to do this. Immediately, Bailey Xuan grabbed the cursed spirit again and began to knead and mold it. Cursed spirit. Bailey Xuan looked at her masterpiece with a sunny smile. Have you learned, Aotien? Aotien replied in a Japanese officer's voice, I've learned, boss. Bailey Xuan's smile instantly turned nuclear kind. Really? I don't believe you. Not unless you let me hear a lowly voice. Aotien dripped a bead of cursed energy sweat. Okay, boss. In a madam voice. A cross-shaped vein popped on Bailey Xuan's forehead. I'm sorry. In a fat man's voice. Boss. In a tough guy's voice. I will work hard. In an old lady's voice. Bailey Xuan revealed a sunny and cute smile. Although the process was winding, the result was good in the end. Aotien eventually learned the lowly voice. But Bailey Xuan found his lowly voice unpleasant and made him switch to a Shota voice. But such things were harmless. Bailey Xuan sprawled on the sofa, drinking milk tea. Gojo Satoru hadn't been back for nearly a week. Poor her, she could only enjoy life all by herself. Bailey Xuan wiped away non-existent tears, feeling that she couldn't keep slacking off like this. Lying around playing at home wouldn't lead to anything good. At least she should go out and play. These past few days, Aotien had been force-fed until he reached a level similar to the poop monster. At this moment, Bailey Xuan was leading Aotien, who had transformed into a form assumed by Aotien, as they strolled through the streets of Saitama. The leash was also made of cursed energy, invisible to ordinary people. Before leaving, Aotien had expressed doubts about the strange appearance of a black form assumed by Aotien, as he hadn't seen one in books. Bailey Xuan gently patted his dog head, and several cracks appeared on the floor beneath his paws. How could such a cute dog like a form assumed by Aotien be strange? Isn't it just that Aotien is too useless to change colors? Aotien tried to change the subject. Boss, do you like dogs? Bailey Xuan responded indifferently. No, I like cats. Then why don't you have one? Aotien's pitch-black dog face showed a puzzled expression. HMPH. Only the most perfect kitty is worthy of this great goddess. Dogs or whatever, anything will do. Aotien. Alright then. You're the boss, you have the final say. During this time, Bailey Xuan had mastered the aesthetic trends of this world. She wouldn't walk around in popular styles from the previous world, as that would probably be mistaken for cosplay. A brightly dressed pink-haired girl, with exquisite makeup and carrying a small parasol, strolled through the streets. The beautiful girl caused passersby to turn their heads. Bailey Xuan chuckled to herself, she had activated a charm buff, after all. A great goddess had to be the center of attention. Feeling many gazes upon them, the form assumed by Aotien, invisible to everyone else, warily observed his surroundings. Although he knew others couldn't see him, the humans' gazes still made him uncomfortable. Suddenly, encouraged by his friends, a high school boy approached Bai Li Xuan with flushed cheeks and shy eyes, yet he never dared to look her directly in the face. Hello, he stammered. Ao Tian squatted on the ground, watching coldly with a face full of contempt. This guy thinks he can hit on his boss. Hello, is there something I can help you with? Bai Li Xuan responded with a beaming smile. The high school boy stammered, hello, may I ask if you have a boyfriend? I don't. Then, what do you think of me? The high school boy plucked up his courage and asked with a red face. Bai Li Xuan feigned serious thought for a moment, her lips curling into a mischievous smile. But I don't like boys. I only like men who are my dogs. Ao Tian held his head high with pride. As soon as Bai Li Xuan finished speaking, she elegantly bypassed him and continued walking, leaving the young high school boy petrified on the spot. Oh dear, I accidentally exposed a minor to the adult world. What a sin. Wait, the high school boy suddenly shouted. Bai Li Xuan stopped and looked back at him. The high school boy seemed to have made up his mind. With a red face, he shouted at her in a desperate gamble, then let me be your dog. Bai Li Xuan. Ao Tian. Woof 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 woof. Bai Li Xuan closed her eyes, trying to ignore the astonished looks from the passers-by. Are all minors in this world like this now? Yes, she had been too hasty. She let out a weak sigh. In that case, she couldn't afford to stay stagnant any longer. The next second, Bai Li Xuan quickly fled the scene with Ao Tian, who was still baring his teeth and barking at the high school boy. They were here for serious business. Bai Li Xuan's playing at home these past few days wasn't for nothing. She had thoroughly researched famous Japanese tourist attractions, crossed out supernatural locations. She wanted to find more high-level cursed spirits to observe. If there were any that weren't as hideous as Ao Tian, she could catch them as pets to keep Ao Tian company. Ao Tian. Alert.jpg. She didn't know what was wrong with this country, but the supernatural locations were countless. As Bai Li Xuan searched, her initial delight gradually turned into a deadpan expression. This is way too many. By the time she finished filtering the places, a whole day had passed. Bai Li Xuan. Exhausted kitty slump.jpg. Ultimately, Bai Li Xuan decided on the first location, 88 Bridge in Saitama. She didn't follow a planned route but went according to her own whims. Anyway, she was fast, and she could see more scenery along the way. It was said that 88 Bridge was a place shrouded in curses, a famous suicide spot. Bai Li Xuan read related online posts in detail and checked reports of unexplained comas and deaths in the Saitama area. The situation looks quite grim. When they arrived near 88 Bridge, they found that local residents avoided it like the plague. A place that everyone avoids like this is probably only visited by minors participating in tests of courage. And maybe those who are actively looking for death. Passers-by were in a hurry. It took Bai Li Xuan quite some effort to successfully stop a flustered-looking middle-aged woman. Inoue Kana looked in terror at the pink-haired girl who had pinned her against the wall. She reached out and said tremulously, I only have 500 yen on me. Bai Li Xuan. Oops, I've been mistaken for a delinquent. Are delinquents that rampant here? She did her best to squeeze out a kind smile. But perhaps because she had been practicing kind smiles too much lately, Inoue Kana's expression became even more terrified. Bai Li Xuan said expressionlessly, Ma'am, I just want to ask you something. Seeing Inoue Kana visibly breathe a sigh of relief, Bai Li Xuan's lip twitched slightly. Inoue Kana calmed down and replied, You scared me, little girl. Whatever you want to ask, I'll tell you everything I know. Just leave quickly after you're done, or you'll become unfortunate. Why? Bai Li Xuan asked. I saw things about 88 Bridge online. It must be fake, right? So I wanted to come and check for myself. It's real. Inoue Kana's face turned solemn. Once you go to 88 Bridge, you'll be cursed. At best, you'll lose money, at worst, you'll lose your life. Bai Li Xuan. She hadn't heard anything about losing money. It's true. You should leave quickly. Inoue Kana looked at Bai Li Xuan with concern. I didn't believe it either when my husband told me, until one day, I passed by there and took a look from afar. I felt dizzy and nauseous. And then? Bai Li Xuan asked. Then, I went home and told my husband. We were scared for many days, but nothing happened. I almost thought the so-called curse was fake. Then, I found that the 30,000 yen I kept at home was gone. I asked my husband, and he said he didn't take it. He said the curse had come true. Since I only looked from afar, it wouldn't take my life, just my money. I didn't believe it and thought I had just misplaced it. But after that, money would go missing every few days. My husband even invited a master to our home. The master just sighed and said, spending money to avert disaster. Bailey Shuan. Inoue Kana gripped Bailey Shuan's hand, her expression agitated. Little girl, take my advice. Don't go investigating that place. Leave quickly. Bailey Shuan pulled her hand away, looking awkward. Ma'am, I think, maybe you should check if your husband and that master know each other. Inoue Kana was puzzled. Of course they know each other. If they didn't, what if he scammed us? Bailey Shuan, never mind. As night fell, a spring rain arrived quietly, washing away the dust permeating the air. The rainy nights of March still carried a hint of chill. A man in his 30s stood without an umbrella, his suit clinging to him in rumpled folds. His old colored briefcase showed signs of careful maintenance. Its owner clearly cherished it, as it lacked a single scratch or stain, yet now it was discarded carelessly at his feet. Tezuka Taishi stood upon 88 Bridge, dark circles under his eyes, staring wearily at the river flowing beneath the bridge. He had clearly tried his best, he had clearly done well enough. But why? Was a person like him just destined to live in misfortune? Why was it that just because someone was the president's cousin, they could replace him at will despite knowing nothing? His usually gentle and considerate wife had started accusing him of incompetence and wanted a divorce just because he lost his job in his 30s. Why was a useless person like him still living in this world? It would be better to just die. Dying would be for the best. But, ding dong. The notification sound of a text message interrupted Tezuka Taishi's thoughts. He picked up his phone and opened the message. Son, how are you doing in the city? Is work going smoothly? If you have time, remember to bring Mahue back to visit. Don't always be so busy with work that you neglect her, and make sure to get some rest yourself. If city life is too tiring, you can come home anytime. Mom will have a meal ready for you both. Mom. The phone screen was quickly wetted as droplets pattered against it. Tears intermingled with the rain, blurring his vision. It was impossible to distinguish between the rain and the tears on Tezuka Taishi's face, it was all one wet mess. He took a deep breath and forced a difficult, bitter smile. Forget it. If he died, his mother would be all alone. He bent down to pick up the briefcase from the ground, but as he rose, his expression became dazed. His fingers went limp, his body swayed, and then he tumbled over the railing and fell into the river. Splash! Aotien jumped into a mud pit and rolled around happily. Bailey Shuan held an umbrella and moved away from him with a speechless expression. You're a cursed spirit, not an actual dog. Why do you like rolling in mud pits on rainy days? Aotien took a moment from his busy schedule to reply, Boss, I'm simulating the genes, not just the appearance. It's not like I want to be like this. Stay away from me in a bit, don't get me dirty, Bailey Shuan said with disgust. As the night deepened, the rain slowed until it stopped completely. Residual water droplets slid slowly off the leaves of grass. The ground was soaked and soft, leaving a footprint with every step. Bailey Shuan brought out Tien to 88 Bridge, surveying the empty area with satisfaction. Only in the middle of the night do I dare to pick a fight. Aotien had already cleaned himself up and was rubbing against Bailey Shuan's side with a clear conscience. Boss, how did those people who came to 88 Bridge to commit suicide die? With so little water, did they just fall to their deaths? The river under 88 Bridge looked shallow and narrow, exposing a wide riverbed. One could cross the little stream just by walking normally. But the bodies of the people who committed suicide here were never found. Theoretically, they could only have been washed away by the current. However, this was a world with curses. Bailey Shuan lamented Aotien's lack of natural talent, he couldn't even see such an obvious barrier. Could it be that she hadn't fed him enough cursed energy balls? But then again, this guy would get indigestion if he ate too many. Sigh, what a waste. Just as well, this cursed spirit this time is pretty good, she could let Aotien practice his skills. Bailey Shuan walked to the middle of the bridge, with Aotien following closely behind. Pity, we're a step too late. She sighed softly as she looked at the briefcase lying on the ground. I only hope this cursed spirit hasn't had time to make its move yet. Standing on the bridge, Bailey Shuan raised her hand to form a seal. Mysterious cursed seals flew from her fingers, opening a gap in the domain as ripples appeared in the air. Aotien clung to the bridge and watched as the originally narrow and calm river began to change, widening and deepening before his eyes into a rapid, surging great river. The turbid river carried all sorts of messy debris, and much of the wreckage was washed ashore. One could faintly see fragments of clothing. A foul, fishy stench assaulted the nose. At this moment, cursed energy residue was everywhere on 88 Bridge. Ao Tien strained his dog eyes wide. Ao Tien, let's go down. After saying that, Bai Li Xuan lightly leapt onto the railing and jumped down without hesitation, vanishing the moment she touched the river's surface. Ao Tien hesitated for a moment before following her down. After the person and the dog landed, they looked up to inspect their surroundings. Before them was another 88 Bridge. They were currently standing on the bridge, and beneath it was still the small stream with the exposed riverbed. Bai Li Xuan looked down at Ao Tien with expectant eyes, hoping he would say something. Ao Tien felt restless under her gaze and guessed hesitantly, "Boss, were we bounced back? Can this cursed spirit control time and keep making us return here?" Bai Li Xuan glared at Ao Tien with disappointment and sighed, yes, we keep jumping down and we keep coming back, stuck in a loop forever. What do you think we should do? Ao Tien tilted his head and suggested tentatively, then never mind, shall we leave? Stupid dog. Bai Li Xuan was frustrated by his lack of progress and knocked on Ao Tien's dog head several times. The sensation of passing through the barrier just now was so obvious, yet you couldn't feel it. Other cursed spirits can do it, why can't you? Hurry up and learn it. Sigh. She finally understood the feeling of, my stupid son breaks my heart. Why did those poop monsters of the same grade know barrier techniques from birth, while Ao Tien couldn't comprehend a single bit of it for the life of him? Was it because of forced growth? No, maybe it was because he hadn't eaten enough cursed energy balls. Because he couldn't perform a domain expansion, Ao Tien was about to lead a life that was both happy and painful. Having been pummeled by Bai Li Xuan, Ao Tien aggrievedly covered his dog head with both paws. So it was a domain. He had been forcibly pulled from grade 3 to quasi-special grade in a short time. It was only normal that he couldn't perform domain expansion yet. Ao Tien wept silently in his heart but didn't dare to talk back. Okay, boss. I'll try my best to learn. Bai Li Xuan ignored Ao Tien and instead focused on scrutinizing this domain. Although this one was slightly different from the one at the villa last time, the principle was the same. She actually only had a partial understanding of the domains in this world, having only seen them twice since arriving. She had even mistakenly thought they were just the barrier techniques of cursed spirits. Pity, she forgot to ask Gojo Satoru when he was around, though it was his fault for forgetting to mention it. No matter, is there anything she, Bai Li Xuan, cannot learn? With a bit more observation, she would be able to comprehend it. After all, she was the omnipotent Lord Goddess. Bai Li Xuan felt no guilt whatsoever about demanding Ao Tien to do something she herself couldn't do. Ao Tien was a native, while she was an outsider, how could they be compared? Bai Li Xuan, Tsunare Catface.jpg. Forming seals was too much trouble, so Bai Li Xuan pulled out a sword and slashed through the air towards the river. A rift instantly appeared on the river's surface, and the surrounding cursed energy began to surge. Do it a few more times and observe carefully. Bai Li Xuan leapt forward. If you lose me, I won't save you. Ao Tien followed closely behind and jumped into the rift. After coming out, they appeared on the bridge again, and the small stream was still below. Bai Li Xuan slashed out again without hesitation and jumped into the rift. Ao Tien followed suit. The entire process was repeated 4 or 5 times, and the surrounding cursed energy became increasingly dense. Bai Li Xuan finally stopped. Ao Tien almost failed to break and nearly jumped again, but Bai Li Xuan caught him. The entire process was very short and didn't take long. Along the way, Ao Tien struggled to keep up while also trying to observe the domain. Bai Li Xuan was too fast, she didn't wait for him at all. Along the way, Bai Li Xuan was also observing, trying to comprehend this domain and then derive more from it. How is it? Do you understand? Bai Li Xuan set down the dog in her hands and smiled. How's your learning going? Ao Tien panted, I think I'm getting a feel for it, but I always feel like something is missing. It's fine. Bai Li Xuan's gaze focused on a certain point in the air, and she slowly swung the longsword in her hand. I see it now. With a subtle ripple in space, the river before them suddenly widened, and the water began to gurgle and bubble as if it were boiling. A pungent stench spread with it, growing heavier by the second. Amidst the surging undercurrents, the river water churned, and something was about to emerge. Bai Li Xuan took everything in, her pink hair fluttering despite the lack of wind. Let's go, Ao Tien. Yes, boss. The next moment, a massive figure as black as ink launched out from the Black River like a cannonball, stretching into a humanoid form in midair as it charged over. Ao Tien transformed into a black dragon and leapt out, engaging in a fierce clash with the humanoid cursed spirit, the two of them becoming a blur of combat. Bailey Xuan took a chair out of her backpack, drew a golden bell shield around herself on the spot, and sat down comfortably. Locked in a heated battle with the humanoid cursed spirit, Ao Tien caught a glimpse of this scene during a gap in the fight, his jaw dropping in disbelief. The humanoid cursed spirit seized the opening to deliver a fatal blow, and just as it seemed Ao Tien wouldn't be able to dodge in time, a powerful surge of cursed energy suddenly erupted, forcefully blasting the humanoid cursed spirit away until it landed on the bank. Focus, Bailey Xuan said with her usual smile, waving at Ao Tien. I won't help you next time, Tilda. The humanoid cursed spirit scrambled up from the ground and lunged at Ao Tien again, and the two cursed spirits were once more rolling around in a chaotic scuffle. There are differences even between special grades, and the gap can be quite large. Gojo Satoru claimed to be the strongest, and she could feel it. Gojo Satoru was indeed stronger than any cursed spirit she had ever seen, and by a significant margin. The cursed spirit at the villa was roughly equal to Ao Tien in terms of cursed energy, but Ao Tien's level had been forcibly boosted by her. He wasn't yet skilled enough in using his newly acquired cursed energy. This cursed spirit. Boom. With a loud crash, Ao Tien was smashed into the ground in his dragon form, barely able to maintain his shape. The humanoid cursed spirit glanced at Bailey Xuan, then turned back to deliver the final blow to Ao Tien. This cursed spirit was quite a bit stronger than Ao Tien. Bailey Xuan narrowed her eyes and opened the golden bell shield. Ao Tien, come back. Bailey Xuan recalled Ao Tien and infused him with cursed energy to heal his injuries. How do you feel? Ao Tien, now shrunk into a small dragon the length of an arm, nuzzled against her. Boss, I've almost got the hang of it. That's enough then, Bailey Xuan said, patting his dragon head. Turn into a Gatling gun, and let's go together. Remember to pay close attention to the feeling. Okay, boss. Ao Tien responded. Why haven't you changed yet? Boss, what's a Gatling gun? Bailey Xuan covered her face and pulled out her phone to show him. Okay, boss. Bailey Xuan shouldered the Ao Tien version Gatling gun and jumped onto the riverbank. The humanoid cursed spirit stood by the pit Ao Tien had made, looking down at the person who only reached its waist. Who, man, die. Facing the cursed spirit charging at her, Bailey Xuan sighed. This won't do. You can't beat me. Wouldn't it be better to just surrender? Having said that, she used her cursed energy as bullets and Ao Tien as the medium, opening fire on the cursed spirit with a rapid burst. A moment later, looking at the fallen cursed spirit, Bailey Xuan blew on the muzzle, which wasn't even smoking. Sigh, I told you that you couldn't beat me. The moment the cursed spirit perished, the entire 88 bridge appeared to crack like a frozen glass painting, spiderweb-like fractures spreading across it. Then, it shattered with a roar. The surrounding environment changed abruptly. They were now inside a bizarre cave with flesh-red inner walls and densely packed, gnarled stone pillars. A thick mist of cursed energy drifted everywhere, obscuring their vision and making the path difficult to discern. Ao Tien turned back into a small black dragon and coiled around Bailey Xuan's wrist. As expected of boss, you truly are matchlessly strong. Bailey Xuan always accepted praise without hesitation. Of course, I'm amazing. Boss, what exactly is going on here? Ao Tien asked in confusion. Bailey Xuan paced forward slowly, her tone calm and composed. This one is the actual boss, the one we fought outside was just a mob. After clearing the mobs, it's time to enter the final dungeon. First we solve the puzzle, then we kill the monster. But forget the puzzle, we even have to rescue hostages, Bailey Xuan said, standing still and holding her blade horizontally. Let's just fast forward straight to the boss fight. Ao Tien only saw the flashes of the blade interweaving into a brilliant galaxy of starlight, and the stone cave shattered completely like a broken mirror. The moment the cave collapsed, Bailey Xuan moved like the wind, leaping up and skillfully stepping onto the oncoming white spider silk to lightly evade the attack. A thick web of spider silk covered the sky like a grim curtain, obscuring their view. Countless cocoon-like objects wrapped tightly in silk hung from the four walls, some had already dried and cracked, with a bizarre yellow liquid flowing out of them. The area overhead was also covered by spiderwebs, completely sealing them off from the outside world. Spider silk attacked from above again, and Bailey Xuan dodged once more, looking up. A giant spider with a human head was crouching on the web above Bailey Xuan's head, its 8 pitch black eyes staring straight at her. The giant spider let out a deafening roar and attacked Bai Li Xuan again. The newly spat white spider silk was mixed with deep green slime. As the slime dripped onto the ground, the weeds below were instantly charred black as if they had been touched by sulfuric acid. Oh dear, why do all cursed spirits like to play this game? Sorry about this, Bai Li Xuan apologized to the cocoons as she stepped on them to dodge. Let's finish this quickly then. She drew her sword, ready to strike. Boss, Ao Tian suddenly spoke up. What is it? Bai Li Xuan stopped her movement. Let me handle this. I feel like I've finally reached the threshold. Sure. Ao Tian got down from Bai Li Xuan and returned to his normal size. Bai Li Xuan sheathed her sword. Watch out for the hostages. Ao Tian let out a low growl and charged forward. The giant spider spat out silk to build a barrier, blocking Ao Tian's attack. We are the same kind. Are you kidding me? I'm nothing like a cursed spirit like you who can't even speak clearly. Ao Tian spat out blue flames to burn through its defenses. I'm the boss's dog. Ah. Kill you all. The giant spider was furious. The webs surrounding them began to surge, closing in on Ao Tian from all directions, while several strands of silk shot toward Bai Li Xuan, only to be sliced down by her blade. The spider silk began to drain the life force from within the cocoons. After a few rounds, Ao Tian was pinned to the ground. A ridiculous grin appeared on Ao Tian's dragon face. I see it. In the distance, Bai Li Xuan, who was protecting the cocoons, curled her lips and nodded. Ao Tian wasn't that stupid after all. The bristles on the giant spider's legs pierced Ao Tian's body, and it raised a leg, intending to impale his skull. Domain expansion. All-encompassing manifestation. In an instant, a pitch-black barrier descended, shrouding the surroundings in darkness. Within the domain, various creatures of different forms emerged, with a Gatling gun mixed among them. Ao Tian broke free from the restraints and stood up, having transformed into a black-haired, black-eyed youth. The effect of my domain is to summon every creature I can transform into within the domain to attack the enemy. Ao Tian chuckled lowly, covering his face with one hand. And the attacks within the domain are sure hit. Listening to this, Bai Li Xuan slowly formed a mental question mark. But the situation didn't allow Bai Li Xuan to think too deeply. The giant spider quickly launched an attack on Ao Tian in a desperate, final struggle. Its domain was the entire 88 bridge illusion, which had already been broken by Bai Li Xuan earlier. It couldn't perform another domain expansion in such a short time. And the only ways to break a domain, other than killing the domain's master, were to expand an even more powerful domain. Bai Li Xuan was clearly an exception, though she didn't know it herself. Under Ao Tian's assault, the giant spider was already at the end of its rope. It finally turned toward Bai Li Xuan, attempting to pick on the soft target. But Bai Li Xuan was no soft target, and within Ao Tian's domain, he wouldn't allow anyone to lay a hand on her either. As its 8 legs and head were torn off, the giant spider's dying gaze locked onto Ao Tian. Humans, lackey. The giant spider cursed spirit dissipated, and Ao Tian deactivated the domain, revealing the outside scenery once more. By the narrow river, there was a pile of clutter. A man in his 30s wearing a suit lay on the bank, with 2 shriveled corpses nearby. Now this is a problem. After confirming the man in the suit was not in any life-threatening danger, Bai Li Xuan planned to leave as quickly as possible. But Ao Tian wouldn't think that much. Ao Tian was just a little puppy. He excitedly pounced toward Bai Li Xuan. Bai Li Xuan reached out to block him. Little animals are fine, but stay away if you're in human form. Boss. Did you see that? I did it. Even though his hug was rejected, Ao Tian was still excitedly wagging an invisible tail at Bai Li Xuan. I saw it, Bai Li Xuan said, pressing down on his head and looking him up and down. What's with this form? Boss, I don't know either. The moment I grasped the domain, I turned into a human. Also, since I just opened the domain and entered the burnout period, I can't use my curse technique. I was supposed to turn back into my original form, but for some reason, I'm still human. Bai Li Xuan figured this was likely due to her. After catching Ao Tian, she had washed away the resentment on him. He only looked like a cursed spirit on the surface now, but as for what he actually was, even Bai Li Xuan hadn't seen anything like it before. What she was confused about now was, Ao Tian, why do you have to shout your move names and give a detailed explanation? It cringed me out. Villains die from talking too much. Luckily, Ao Tian wasn't a villain. Ao Tian slowly formed a mental question mark. Boss, don't you know that cursed technique disclosure can enhance the technique's effect? Bai Li Xuan. Bailey Shuan just felt this setting was a bit crazy. Would an enemy really just stand there like an idiot and wait for you to finish reciting your move's name before attacking? Wait, what's this? A shriveled purple-red finger lay on the ground, continuously emitting the aura of a curse. What is this? Bailey Shuan picked up the finger to examine it. Ao Tian, it seems we've found a hidden drop. Ao Tian leaned his head in and was about to lick it with his tongue when Bailey Shuan pushed him away. You're not a dog now, so why are you still acting like one? Don't just lick dirty things. Ao Tian hesitated to speak and walked to the side aggrieved. He didn't know why, but he just had an impulse to swallow that finger. Bailey Shuan speculated that this might be another special item of this world, so she stuffed it into her backpack, planning to ask Gojo Satoru after he returned. The curse incident at 88 Bridge came to an end here. How the officials reported it afterward was none of their business. After all, there was only one survivor, and his testimony might not be fully accepted. Even if it triggered a new curse, it wouldn't be stronger than this one, so she believed other jujutsu sorcerers should be able to handle it. The strength of this spider-cursed spirit was clearly catalyzed by that strange finger. Speaking of which, could that finger be a summoning item for some thousand-year curse? Like collecting the Dragon Balls to summon Shenron or something. Whatever, she was out here to travel, so why think so much? Having just arrived in Saitama and resolved the curse of 88 Bridge without properly sightseeing, Bailey Shuan decided to stay in Saitama for 2 more days. Thus, once Ao Tian's cursed technique burnout period ended, a youthful and beautiful pink-haired JK appeared on the streets of Saitama again, along with the dog she was leading that ordinary people couldn't see. It should have been like that, but now Bailey Shuan and her dog were blocked by delinquents at a sparsely populated alley entrance. Yes, Bailey Shuan did it on purpose. Since she was already here, how could she not experience the Saitama specialty that even scared that auntie last time, delinquents? She had noticed that these 4 delinquents had been following her for a long time, so she deliberately walked toward a less crowded area. Bailey Shuan looked at these 4 delinquents with multicolored hair wearing middle school uniforms. She retreated to the corner, in fear, listening to them threaten her one after another. What are you going to do? The delinquents glanced at each other. Delinquent number 1 pretended to be fierce. Hand over all the money you have. Delinquent number 2 gave number 1 a headbutt. You got it wrong. Hey, woman, you actually dared to reject Big Brother Matsushida's pursuit. Delinquent number 3. I advise you not to be ungrateful, or don't blame us for being rude. Delinquent number 4. Exactly. Ao Tian almost burst out laughing. Bailey Shuan. She had wondered why they were chasing her. So, it turns out that guy from that day was named Matsushita. Whatever, why are these minors being delinquents instead of studying? Let the beautiful and generous Shuan-sama give them a good education. What are you doing? A cold interrogation rang out like a sudden clap of thunder, breaking the tense atmosphere of the confrontation. The delinquent youths were struck as if by lightning, instantly freezing in place. They turned around mechanically, only to see that the newcomer was none other than Big Brother Fushiguro. Bailey Shuan and Ao Tian watched with their own eyes as the delinquents, who were just acting arrogant in front of her, now performed a dogeza at the newcomer's feet. Bailey Shuan. Huh. Ao Tian. Huh. The black-haired youth ignored the 4 people sprawling on the ground. His sharp gaze swept over Ao Tian, and his furrowed brows revealed his inner wariness. Leave, immediately. Yes. The 4 delinquents ran away without looking back, as if they had received a divine pardon. Bailey Shuan watched with great interest. It seemed this sea urchin hairstyle was the leader of the delinquents, and he could even see Ao Tian. This was getting interesting. Fushiguro Megumi's muscles were tensed as he stared intently at the black samoyed sitting on the ground, which looked like it had no ATK. Could there really be such a cute cursed spirit? Although he was a bit puzzled as to why there was a black samoyed, he remained on guard for a possible sudden attack from Ao Tian. It's a special grade. This pink-haired damselette was actually wandering the busy streets with a special grade cursed spirit. Is she a curse user? Hey, Fushiguro Megumi spoke up and asked, are you a curse user? The little sea urchin's face was almost as dark as Ao Tian's. Bailey Shuan was admiring it when she heard the question and felt a bit puzzled. Curse user. An alternative name for a jujutsu sorcerer. She hesitated for a moment and gave an ambiguous answer, maybe. She watched as the little sea urchin's face darkened a few more shades, and then he made a dog head hand sign. Divine dogs. Bailey Shuan watched in amazement as 2 dogs, one black and one white, crawled out of the shadows and stood by Fushiguro Megumi's side, baring their teeth and growling at Aotien. This was the second jujutsu sorcerer she had met besides Gojo Satoru. Aotien glanced at Bai Li Xuan. Seeing that she didn't stop him, he also stood up and bared his teeth back at the divine dogs. Aotien provoked. Woof 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 woof. The white divine dog refused to be outdone. Woof 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 woof. Bai Li Xuan. Fushiguro Megumi. Hey, little sea urchin, do you want to fight here? Bai Li Xuan thought about the bustling crowd just one street away. How about we find a quiet place? As soon as she finished speaking, Bai Li Xuan grabbed Aotien with her left hand and Fushiguro Megumi with her right, and began to teleport. Fushiguro Megumi. Who is little sea urchin? He only had time to recall the divine dogs before being grabbed and moved at high speed. Feeling the strong wind blowing, the suspicion in his heart weakened a bit. A curse user wouldn't care whether there were ordinary people around. He wanted to ask something, but he held back. As soon as he spoke, the wind would pour into his mouth, so he could only temporarily keep his mouth shut. His upturned sea urchin hair was blown flat by the wind. Fushiguro Megumi was expressionless. What a familiar feeling. He didn't want to remember it for now. The teleportation ended, and Bai Li Xuan appeared in a desolate suburb with the person and the dog. As soon as they landed, Fushiguro Megumi's signature sea urchin hair immediately returned to its original state. Crouching on the ground and enduring the feeling of nausea, Fushiguro Megumi asked, "You're not a curse user, are you?" "What's the difference?" Bai Li Xuan leaned over and looked at him with a beaming smile. "Oh no, she's even more like him now." Fushiguro Megumi sighed and stood up. Jujutsu sorcerers are professionals responsible for lifting curses and exorcising cursed spirits, while curse users are evil jujutsu sorcerers. Then do all curse users keep cursed spirits? Fushiguro Megumi said decisively, no. Bai Li Xuan followed up. Then what about jujutsu sorcerers? They don't either, Fushiguro Megumi said with emphasis. A normal person wouldn't keep a cursed spirit at all. A cross-shaped vein appeared on Fushiguro Megumi's forehead as he pointed at Aotien. And it's even a dog-like special-grade cursed spirit. But, Bai Li Xuan suddenly smiled and leaned close to Fushiguro Megumi, looking directly into his eyes. Don't you keep dogs too, little sea urchin? Fushiguro Megumi abruptly took a few steps back, a trace of color spreading across his face. After a moment of speechless frustration, he squeezed out a sentence. That's my cursed technique, and my name is Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi took a deep breath to calm down. So, what's the deal with this cursed spirit? Haha, Bai Li Xuan held Aotien's dog head. Aotien is just my dog. Aotien looked at Fushiguro Megumi provocatively and barked a few times in cooperation with Bai Li Xuan. Who told this sea urchin hairstyle to release dogs to bite him as soon as he saw him? It's not certain who's more of a dog. Fushiguro Megumi took a deep breath, not wanting to look at Aotien anymore. It was the first time he had seen such rich expressions on a dog's cursed spirit's face. He felt a bit of an uncanny valley effect. He felt that he had surely made a significant contribution to global warming today. Actually, I'm still quite curious. Bai Li Xuan let go of Aotien and tilted her head to ask, how is the evil of a so-called curse user defined? And who defines it? If someone unilaterally claims the other party is evil, are they really? Fushiguro Megumi was at a loss for words. After a long silence, he slowly responded, I believe those who use their abilities to randomly inflict DMG on others are. He lowered his eyelashes. That's why he would never become that kind of person. Is that so? Megumi-chan is a good child. Bai Li Xuan said no more and sighed softly. She thought of what Gojo Satoru said about the higher-ups of the jujutsu world being rotten oranges, and she sighed inwardly. It seems there really are corrupt higher-ups everywhere. Megumi-chan tilde. Megumi Fushiguro snapped out of it, his hair practically standing on end. Hey, don't call me that. Ignoring him completely, Bai Li Xuan struck an exaggerated pose, raising her hands high to form a seal while shouting with grand ambition. Me Gumi-chan tilde, let's have a fight. Looking at Megumi Fushiguro's expression, she wasn't sure how to comfort him. A fight would probably help him forget, right? Wasn't Megumi-chan a delinquent boss? He should enjoy fighting, shouldn't he? Aotien's eyes lit up. Megumi Fushiguro. Huh. Bai Li Xuan feigned surprise, deliberately asking with a puzzled face, wasn't it Megumi-chan who wanted to fight me? Megumi Fushiguro wore a sour expression. It was clearly this person who was walking a cursed spirit down the street. He had thought she was a curse user. Come on, come on. I just learned the barrier technique of this world and haven't used it yet. Megumi Fushiguro sighed. Although he didn't know what barrier technique Bailey Shuan was talking about, he decided to humor her and try it out. Just as he was about to lower a veil, the surrounding environment changed. Domain expansion. Realm of divine creation. Shouting slogans was actually pretty cool. The moment the domain expansion was activated, the name and effects of the domain naturally flooded into her mind. She recalled the time Ao Tien used his domain. Back then, she thought Ao Tien had come up with the name himself and had secretly mocked him for being so Chunabyu. At this moment, Bailey Shuan sat alone on a divine throne in the center of the domain, looking down at the boy and the dog below. Finally, she wasn't lumped together with the dog. Cough, not that she was looking down on Ao Tien. Megumi Fushiguro and Ao Tien stood on a surface that resembled the face of a lake. Looking around at this vast, open-style domain, their eyes widened. What was she doing? She actually called this a barrier. Inside Bailey Shuan's domain, there was an endless expanse of white. Her domain's effect was somewhat similar to Ao Tien's. Ao Tien's domain allowed him to manifest anything he could transform into within the domain, but as a binding vow, his life was tied to his creations. If all creations were destroyed, he would truly die. In Bailey Shuan's domain, however, she could create all things and even modify herself. As long as her brain could handle the load, she was practically omnipotent. Modify myself. That's a pretty good idea. Megumi Fushiguro's face was full of solemnity. Inside Bailey Shuan's domain, if she wanted to kill him, he would be dead without a doubt. Attacks within a domain are guaranteed to hit. He couldn't use a domain yet, and he was still far from exercising Mahoraga, the final summon of the Ten Shadows technique. Although he didn't know what her cursed technique was yet, he could feel that she was very strong. The possibility of him defeating Bailey Shuan now was almost zero. Alright, Bailey Shuan said, seeing Megumi Fushiguro's heavy expression as she deactivated the domain, stopping her teasing. If Megumi-chan doesn't want to fight, then we won't. How could I possibly bully Megumi-chan on purpose? Yeah, it really was a bit of a brain drain. After all, construction requires mental effort. She raised her hand to rub her aching head and cast a small healing technique on herself. Megumi Fushiguro. Looking at the damselet who was about the same age as him, he couldn't help but feel frustrated. He was also relieved that the girl wasn't an enemy. Your domain is very strong. Bailey Shuan. So this barrier really is called a domain. She thought it was just a name that sounded cool. Ahaha, Bailey Shuan scratched her head noncommittally. After a brief moment of embarrassment, she quickly regained her confidence and lifted her head proudly. After all, I am the great Bailey Shuan. I am the kami who has come to save this world. A Chunabyu girl. Megumi Fushiguro facepalmed. So her name is Bailey Shuan. It was quite rude of him to only learn her name after all this time. With the misunderstanding cleared, Bailey Shuan grabbed Megumi Fushiguro, wanting to teleport him back to the shopping district, but she was sternly rejected. Megumi Fushiguro said expressionlessly, Ms. Bailey, I believe I can make it back on my own. The rejection was, of course, futile, and he was eventually flown back by Bailey Shuan anyway. However, Bailey Shuan had a change of heart this time and placed a debuff nullification barrier on him. Presently, the two were seated in a restaurant, waiting for their food to be served. Bailey Shuan felt that food in Japan was generally okay, but there was too much raw food, which she wasn't used to. Under the guidance of Megumi Fushiguro, a local, they found a shop that served cooked food and sat down. Megumi Fushiguro's gaze fell upon the black jade bracelet on Bailey Shuan's wrist. After hesitating repeatedly, he finally voiced his concern. Is that cursed spirit really okay? Ao Tien had already shrunk down and coiled around her wrist as an ornament when Bailey Shuan deactivated the domain. Bailey Shuan's domain had a much greater impact on cursed spirits than on humans. Even though she hadn't launched an attack, Ao Tien had still felt the fear of his body being crushed when he was about to be modified. Once modified, he wouldn't be able to change back on his own. Bailey Shuan just let him act as her bracelet, even making him look a bit more aesthetically pleasing. She turned the bracelet and smiled, of course it's fine. He must obey my orders. He's my dog now, in every sense of the word. Is it a binding vow? Megumi Fushiguro pressed. Bailey Shuan thought for a moment and nodded, something like that. Megumi Fushiguro took out his phone. Let's add each other online. If there are any problems later, or if you encounter a powerful cursed spirit, you can find me. I know powerful jujutsu sorcerers, some are special grade. Aotian glanced at him but ignored him. Bailey Shuan added him online and looked at Megumi Fushiguro teasingly. You're looking for other special grades because you're unwilling to come yourself. How heartbreaking tilde. Megumi Fushiguro's face darkened. No, it's just to ask for help. I'll come too. Thank you for coming. The shop was pretty good, and Bailey Shuan ate her fill. As they left the shop, Megumi Fushiguro said, "It's getting dark. Where do you live? I'll walk you back." Bailey Shuan readily agreed. The night grew deeper, and moonlight flooded the road as the two walked slowly under the starlight. Megumi-chan, why did you choose to become a jujutsu sorcerer? Bailey Shuan suddenly asked. You could clearly just turn a blind eye and live a normal life. Megumi Fushiguro was silent for a moment before answering, there's someone I must save. Is that so? Why don't you tell me about it? Maybe I can help you. Megumi Fushiguro shook his head. It's complicated. I don't want to involve innocent people. Bailey Shuan looked up at the night sky, where sparse stars had already appeared. So, Megumi-chan has decided to bear it all alone. As a god who came to save the world, she couldn't easily interfere with established world lines. If this matter didn't involve the world line, it would be simple. If it did, it wasn't impossible to change. Megumi Fushiguro closed his eyes. This matter started because of me. It started because of him. If he hadn't argued with Sumiki that day, Sumiki wouldn't have. He should take all the responsibility. Seeing this, Bailey Shuan stopped trying to persuade him and waved her phone. Then you must find me if something happens, otherwise I won't find you if I have trouble either. Just as Megumi Fushiguro was about to nod, a muffled sound and a suppressed cry of pain came from the distance. Ms. Bailey, wait a moment. I'll go check it out. After saying that, Megumi Fushiguro ran towards the sound. Bailey Shuan sighed, shook her head with a smile, and walked in Megumi Fushiguro's direction. Sigh, what a kind child. Stop. Who are you? Having walked with Bailey Shuan for a long time tonight, they were already far from the area where Megumi Fushiguro's school was located. When he arrived, he saw a student with hair long enough to cover half his face being pinned to the ground and beaten by several other students. Controlling his strength, he flipped one of them to the ground. One of them looked at Megumi Fushiguro and whispered to the leader. As a jujutsu sorcerer, Megumi Fushiguro heard it clearly. Boss, he seems to be that one, that. The leader kicked him impatiently. That what? Speak up. That legendary Fushiguro-san. Megumi Fushiguro immediately clenched his jaw, cringing internally. The leader seemed to recall something and looked Megumi Fushiguro over carefully. Megumi Fushiguro glared back, and once the leader confirmed it, his expression changed slightly. Consider yourself lucky today. The leader spat at the person on the ground and hurriedly left with his lackeys. Thank you for today. My name is Yoshino Junpei. Yoshino Junpei was helped up and thanked Megumi Fushiguro. I'm afraid they'll bring people back. You should leave quickly. Megumi Fushiguro frowned. Did they usually bully you like this? Yeah. Yoshino Junpei lowered his head and clenched his fists. Have you told a teacher about this? Tears welled up in Yoshino Junpei's eyes. He lifted the long hair covering his forehead, revealing several circular burns. They looked like cigarette burns. The teacher saw it too. He said those people are on good terms with me and play together every day. Tears slid down his cheeks. Megumi Fushiguro opened his mouth, not knowing how to comfort him. Then try to fight back. Bailey Shuan stood leaning against the wall, having watched for who knows how long. I don't know what you're worried about, but constant yielding will only make people bully you even more unscrupulously, and it might even affect the people you care about and who care about you. You won't be lucky enough to have someone help you every time. Try to become strong yourself. Bailey Shuan turned to walk back. Let's go, Megumi-chan. Yoshino Junpei's eyes trembled as he watched them leave. Until they turned the corner and were out of sight, he slowly got up from the ground and limped towards home. What will happen to him later? Megumi Fushiguro asked. Well, that depends on his choice. Bailey Shuan waved at him. Let's stop here. Ms. Bailey, Megumi Fushiguro called out to her, why don't you join Jujutsu High? It's a place for jujutsu sorcerers to study systematically. Bailey Shuan smiled. I know about that. Someone already invited me, and I've already agreed. I think it's Tokyo Jujutsu High. Megumi Fushiguro understood. With a jujutsu sorcerer as strong as Bailey Shuan among the public, someone would definitely come to invite her. It was probably Principal Yaga or Gojo-sensei who had come to invite her. He didn't ask further. If nothing unexpected happened, they would be schoolmates in the future, and there would be plenty of opportunities to interact. He'd ask Gojo-sensei when he had time. Saitama suburbs. Bailey Shuan habitually left no traces when using cursed energy, and even if she accidentally left some, she would clear them as soon as possible. Satoru Gojo chuckled as he looked at the large amount of Megumi Fushigiro's residual cursed energy. He had originally passed through Saitama and wanted to see Megumi-chan on the way. It seemed he was quite energetic now. There were still a few missions to do. He'd go back to see Shuan-chan in a couple of days. After being away from Gojo-sensei for so many days, was she so lonely she wanted to cry? What should he do if she threw herself into her teacher's arms and cried? Sigh tilde it's really a headache tilde. After parting ways with Megumi Fushiguro that night, Bailey Shuan left Saitama. But after setting off on her journey again, although she encountered many curses, she never found another finger, nor did she find a cursed spirit as interesting as Aotien. Bailey Shuan couldn't help but wonder if there was only one such finger. Today, Bailey Shuan was strolling through the streets of Kyoto. At this time, Aotien was under a manifestation spell she had cast, which suppressed his cursed spirit aura and turned him into a human form to follow by her side. Aotien was holding a pile of food. Seeing that the food in Bailey Shuan's hand was finished, he handed over something new. The two of them were dressed in bright, gorgeous clothes, forming a sharp contrast with the ancient, mysterious, and quiet atmosphere of Kyoto, yet they blended in skillfully. Kyoto was originally a place where bustling urban life and tranquil temples coexisted harmoniously. It was Aotien's first time appearing in front of ordinary people, and Bailey Shuan had dragged him along to buy clothes that matched her outfit for the day. Compared to Aotien, who was slightly cramped wearing so many colors for the first time, Bailey Shuan was clearly well adapted. Aotien looked around, his gaze once again meeting those of curious humans, and he awkwardly turned his face away. He spoke hesitantly, "Boss, actually, it's not like I can't just stay invisible." "That won't do." Bailey Shuan shook her head and looked at him with a smile. "We clearly came out to play together, but if I only buy one ticket, enjoy the delicious food alone, and play the goldfish scooping game alone, then wouldn't your role as a companion be purely for show? At least now you can help me carry my bags. Even if others can't see me, I can still accompany boss and help boss carry bags." Aotien lowered his eyes slightly. "I only want to be boss's dog." Haha. Bailey Shuan freed a hand and ruffled Aotien's black hair. "Aren't you my dog right now as well?" Although he was no longer a pure cursed spirit, the nature of a cursed spirit was still affecting Aotien. While he didn't hate humans, having humans other than Bailey Shuan approach him, even just through eye contact, still made him feel uncomfortable. Jujutsu sorcerers were fine. Jujutsu sorcerers themselves didn't produce cursed spirits, so Aotien could still tolerate them, not to mention that Bailey Shuan herself was a jujutsu sorcerer. But ordinary people, especially with so many ordinary people on the streets of Kyoto right now. Aotien wanted to crawl into the dust song pot right now, he would rather be accompanied by those two fierce hounds. Seeing that Aotien was almost pressing himself against her to avoid the crowd, Bailey Shuan stopped forcing him to interact with others and let him stick close to her. She sighed inwardly. If he wasn't going to be a cursed spirit anymore, he couldn't avoid contact with humans. It had been less than half a month since the start of the journey, and Bailey Shuan had already finished investigating the several locations she had marked. It was about time to prepare to head back. Among her findings, she didn't know if the positions of other jujutsu sorcerers conflicted with Satoru Gojo's. After parting with Megumi Fushiguro, to avoid causing unnecessary trouble, she had avoided other jujutsu sorcerers during her investigations. After all, not everyone was like Megumi Fushiguro. The last target happened to be located in the outskirts of Kyoto. Kyoto has many famous temples. After killing the cursed spirit, they happened to come for a stroll, and finally, they could take the Shinkansen back to Tokyo. She heard they could see Mount Fuji along the way. Bailey Shuan, since we're already here. And so, there was the scene of them walking on the streets. Having been out for so many days, she wondered if Satoru Gojo had returned. There were too many temples in Kyoto to visit them all in a short time. Bailey Shuan decided to go to just one. Temples should all be about the same, right? She asked Aotien if he had any ideas, and Aotien shook his head. He had been at the racecourse until he met Bailey Shuan. What ideas could he have? In the end, it was decided by drawing lots to go to Kiyomizu-dera Temple. At night, Kiyomizu-dera Temple was brilliantly lit. The five-story pagoda appeared solemn and sacred under the lights, with a constant stream of pilgrims, and the air was filled with a faint scent of sandalwood and incense smoke. Bailey Shuan had heard about the fortune-telling culture at Kiyomizu-dera Temple along the way and decided to experience it here. She took out Tien to the fortune-drawing area. She still had some of the change she had exchanged earlier, which should be enough for drawing lots. Benefactor, do you wish to draw a lot? The abbot on the side asked with a smile. Yes, Bailey Shuan nodded, fished out a coin, and handed it to Ao Tien. Ao Tien, why don't you try? Ao Tien took the coin in confusion. Boss, I'm not even human. Will the fortune be accurate? Since we're already here, Bailey Shuan smiled calmly. Drawing lots is just for a good omen, it's not really useful. There are no gods in this world, so don't worry too much about the result. Go on. Oh. Ao Tien scratched his head. Although he still had some doubts, he obediently stepped forward and bowed like the others. Ao Tien drew a lot but didn't open it to look. Instead, he handed it to Bailey Shuan. Great blessing, Bailey Shuan nodded as she looked at the text on the slip. Seems like it's a bit accurate after all. Meeting her should naturally count as a great blessing. Hearing this, Ao Tien happily nudged up against Bailey Shuan, wagging an invisible tail. Although he didn't understand, it seemed like a good thing. Then I'll try too. Bailey Shuan put away Ao Tien's slip, stepped forward, dropped a coin, and casually drew a fortune slip. Haha, this god self should also get a great curse. Bailey Shuan's eyes widened, and she repeatedly scrutinized the text on the slip to confirm if there was a mistake. Benefactor. The abbot was about to offer comfort when he was interrupted by Ao Tien. Ao Tien frowned, a fierce look on his face. Boss, does that mean something bad? Should I go and tear down this temple? How dare they give boss a bad omen? Bailey Shuan held back the eager Ao Tien and said through gritted teeth, no need. Ao Tien looked at her with concern. Boss, mine should be good. How about I give mine to you? Bailey Shuan waved her hand in refusal. No need, I still have money. I'll draw again. She wanted to take back her previous words. These lots weren't accurate at all. Under the abbot's gaze, Bailey Shuan fiercely dropped a coin and drew another fortune slip. Huh. Curse. Curse. Great curse again. After repeating this several times, Bailey Shuan held the last coin in her hand with a solemn expression. Under the tense gazes of several people, she solemnly dropped it in and took out a fortune slip. Boss, opening it, Ao Tien asked nervously. Benefactor, the fortune slip is for reference only. You are always the master of your own life, the abbot comforted at the right time. Bailey Shuan took a deep breath and quickly opened it under everyone's gaze, for fear that the slip would have time to react. Great blessing. Bailey Shuan's eyes widened. It's a great blessing. Ao Tien was even happier than when he drew it himself, suddenly jumping onto Bailey Shuan. Boss, it's a good omen. Ahem. Bailey Shuan tried to act as if nothing had happened and as if she didn't care, but she couldn't suppress the upward curve of her lips. A mere fortune slip, how can it bind this god? I just wanted to verify if this temple was a scam and only had one blessing slip. It seems I misunderstood. This was the victory of a whale. My fate is determined by me, not by heaven. Bailey Shuan felt she could write a book on how to draw a great blessing. The method? Just draw all the curses, and then you'll draw a blessing. Haha, just kidding. How could she really be unlucky to that extent? Finally, the abbot watched the two leave and breathed a deep sigh of relief. If this continued, he was really worried they would tear down the temple. Bailey Shuan took Ao Tien onto the Shinkansen back to Tokyo. Ao Tien turned back into a dog and curled up beside her, accompanying her as she looked out the window. The night view through the window was different from what they usually saw when they were out exorcising cursed spirits at night. It had a unique flavor. After some time on the train, the Mount Fuji that Bailey Shuan had been looking forward to finally appeared as a silhouette in the distance. She shook awake Ao Tien, who was drowsily resting on her lap. Ao Tien, look quickly, Mount Fuji is almost here. Ao Tien opened his blurry eyes and looked out the window. The towering peak in the distance was indeed the world-famous Mount Fuji. The moonlight was bright, and the mountain appeared in a mysterious and cold blue-gray tone under the night sky, with the snow on the summit shimmering with silver-white light under the starlight. He wasn't interested in the scenery of the outside world. He was originally just a cursed spirit generated by human resentment towards gambling. After Bailey Shuan removed the resentment from his body, he even lost interest in gambling. However, seeing Bailey Xuan's appreciative gaze towards Mount Fuji, Aotian thought that Mount Fuji was indeed very beautiful. Of course, later when Bailey Xuan tried to adopt a Mount Fuji cursed spirit, he took back those words. The moment Gojo Satoru stepped into the apartment, if it hadn't been for his own familiar key opening the lock, he would have almost suspected he had walked into the wrong home. Everything inside the apartment was completely different from the cold and monotonous state it was in when he left. It was now overflowing with an unprecedented sense of warmth and fulfillment. On the floor that was originally as polished as a mirror, there was now a fluffy carpet spread out, its soft texture seemingly able to absorb all the cold and hardness of the outside world. In the living room, various plush decorations were arranged in a scattered yet orderly fashion, adding a touch of warmth to the space. The dispensable TV in his home had been replaced by a giant screen embedded in the wall, and next to it stood a shelf filled with various games, shimmering with an inviting glow. The tea table was covered with snacks, and the cold-lined sofa he had bought on a whim was replaced by a large, comfortable, pale yellow plush sofa. And there was an extra-large dog kennel, but no dog in sight. Does Xuan-chan want to raise a dog? A long-forgotten classic drama was playing on the screen. And the only audience member, sunken into the soft yellow plush, a small bundle of pink and pale yellow blending together, was sleeping soundly. This mission was originally supposed to take longer, but for some reason, several suspected high-grade cursed spirits detected by Window had disappeared. Either they were exorcised by other jujutsu sorcerers, or Window's detection was erroneous. It wasn't the first or second time Window had made a mistake. In short, his mission ended early. For so many years, Gojo Satoru had been exorcising cursed spirits day and night all over Japan, never staying in one place for long. He had houses in many places, wherever he finished his mission for the day, he would rest in the house there. And many times he didn't sleep at all. Anyway, he had the reverse cursed technique, so he didn't need to sleep. So every one of his houses remained in a minimalist and cold state, he had never thought of decorating them with care. Now, facing this space filled with the breath of life, he felt a subtle sense of discomfort, yet a mysterious warmth arose in his heart. Gojo Satoru's gaze fell on the blanket that Bailey Xuan had kicked onto the floor, and he chuckled inwardly. Honestly, how can she still kick off the covers? She really is still a child. He completely forgot how he himself kicked off the covers. He gently set down the little cake he had specifically brought back for Bailey Xuan and walked softly toward the sofa, picking up the blanket to cover her. When Bailey Xuan felt someone approaching, she opened her eyes alertly. After realizing it was Gojo Satoru, she relaxed again. But the next second, her eyes widened. The Gojo Satoru before her had bandages wrapped around his eyes, his white hair like feathers, giving him a peculiar appearance that was vastly different from the image in her memory. Bailey Xuan rubbed her eyes in disbelief and looked again. Gojo Satoru cupped his face with both hands and leaned in close. It's not a hallucination. He didn't look like this when they first met. He didn't look like this in the images transmitted by the world consciousness either. Gojo Satoru tilted his head with a cat-like grin. Go-chan, Bailey Xuan spoke tentatively, is your eye injured? Why? She clearly felt that Gojo Satoru wasn't injured, could this be his aesthetic? Gojo Satoru replied with a smile, nope. Then, are you cosplaying as a badminton shuttlecock? Bailey Xuan asked cautiously. Of course not. Gojo Satoru quickly pulled off the bandages, his azure eyes shining brilliantly at close range as they met hers, their breaths intertwining. Xuan-chan should know, this is the Raikugan, the 6 eyes. Bailey Xuan was captivated by that soul-stirring beauty, blinked her violet eyes, and explained somewhat hesitantly, I don't have that kind of trouble. Maybe mine is just a construct, so the 6 eyes don't affect me much, and the effect might not be as good as the original. Huh. Gojo Satoru stood up in shock, then pretended to cry out in grief. Even so, as soon as I get back, Xuan-chan says I'm a badminton shuttlecock. I'm clearly the most handsome no matter what. Haven't you missed me at all after not seeing me for so long? Go-chan is so sad tilde. Bailey Xuan's expression was exaggerated. A big man with a big butt like you, what are you crying for? You're crying away all the luck in this house. I think you won't be happy until you cry this home apart. Gojo Satoru was performing vigorously when he was suddenly pinned in place by her words. His crying stopped abruptly, and his expression became as stiff as a stone. Alright, stop messing around. Bailey Xuan looked at his eyes, which seemed lively but couldn't hide his exhaustion, and felt a pang of pity. She gently beckoned him over. Gojo Satoru obediently went over and sat beside her. Bailey Shuan casually activated debuff nullification and gestured for Gojo Satoru to lie down on the sofa. Just how long has it been since you last slept? She asked with concern. Gojo Satoru thought for a moment, about half a month. Isn't that from the time he went on his business trip until now? Then have a good sleep first. Bailey Shuan couldn't help but frown, rubbing his hair with a sigh. We'll talk about everything after you wake up. Gojo Satoru felt the strange sensation on his head and slowly closed his eyes. So strange. They hadn't known each other for long. But it was so relaxing. Watching Gojo Satoru fall asleep, Bailey Shuan rubbed her fingers. The cat-like feel was quite good. When Ao Tien returned with dinner, Bailey Shuan was watching the movie with the volume turned down. However, seeing Gojo Satoru sleeping on the sofa with his head in Bailey Shuan's lap, Ao Tien's eyes nearly split with rage. Bailey Shuan noticed Ao Tien's return and silently made a shushing gesture. Ao Tien walked in furiously and placed the food gently on the table. Gojo Satoru woke up not long after Ao Tien returned. After all, who could sleep well while being stared at intensely by someone with such resentful eyes? Seeing Gojo Satoru awake, Ao Tien no longer tried to stay quiet. He glared at Gojo, who was still lying there after waking up. Boss, who is he? Do you need me to take him out for you? Ao Tien knew he couldn't beat Gojo Satoru, and Bailey Shuan wouldn't allow him to do so, but he just wanted to talk tough. A black line slid down Bailey Shuan's forehead as she looked at Ao Tien speechlessly. Gojo Satoru fully woke up, stood up, and stretched lazily, only then noticing Ao Tien glaring at him. He curled his lips with interest. Wow tilde oh tilde what is this thing? It looks like a cursed spirit, but then again it isn't. Should I kill it and give it to Shoko? Shoko would probably like it. Truly interesting. First there was Bailey Shuan whom he hadn't seen through yet, and now there was this fellow who was neither human nor cursed spirit. It was definitely the right choice to keep Shuan-chan by his side. Subarashi tilde. Having no time to care who, Shoko, was in Gojo Satoru's mouth, a vein popped on Ao Tien's forehead as he bared his teeth. Hey. What are you saying, you dead white hair? I'm the boss's dog. Huh. Gojo Satoru was stunned for a moment, looking at the huge dog kennel on the floor, then at Ao Tien who was baring his teeth at him, and then at Bailey Shuan who was unpacking the food Ao Tien brought back, ready to start eating. Gojo Satoru even forgot to curse back. He felt like he no longer understood young people today. Tui. He, the handsome Gojo Satoru, wasn't old at all. After unpacking the food, Bailey Shuan calmly beckoned the two who were still facing off, come and eat. Ao Tien snorted at Gojo Satoru and walked over. Gojo Satoru was still a bit confused as he sat at the table. Although he respected other people's fetishes, a dog kennel was really unnecessary. He finished the meal suspiciously. After the meal, he and Bailey Shuan sat on the sofa drinking tea, watching blankly as Ao Tien turned into a dog in front of him and nuzzled up to Bailey Shuan's feet. Bailey Shuan took a sip of tea and smiled. That's right, Ao Tien is my dog. Gojo Satoru forced a smile. Isn't this even worse? Seeing Gojo Satoru's expression, Bailey Shuan put down her teacup heavily and smiled at him with a menacing kindness, just a pet tilde. Gojo Satoru silently breathed a sigh of relief. Question. He raised a hand. What's the deal with this black-furred dog? Bailey Shuan explained the whole story to him and sighed, it's a pity this world lacks materials, and my heaven's net is all bound to me. Otherwise, if everyone had a cursed spirit, and then let those cursed spirits kill other cursed spirits, wouldn't jujutsu sorcerers be able to retire? Then how is that any different from a Pokemon master? Gojo Satoru was shocked, then muttered softly, if you two knew each other, I wonder how interesting it would be. Who? Gojo Satoru's smile didn't reach his eyes. Nothing. I wouldn't want Shuan-chan to end up like that. Now that I'm back, I won't be leaving for this long again anytime soon, Satoru Gojo said, half slumped on the soft sofa while eating the cake he had originally brought for Bailey Shuan. Are you happy that you'll get to see your teacher often, Shuan-chan? Satoru Gojo gave Bailey Shuan a playful wink. Watching the cat-like wink, Bailey Shuan pulled out her phone and snapped several photos of him. He cooperatively struck poses in response. Then, Go-chan will also get to see me often, right? Are you happy? Bailey Shuan asked back, her lips curving slightly upward. Satoru Gojo finished the last bite of the cake and covered his face bashfully. Of course, I missed you just as much as Shuan-chan missed me tilde. Ao Tien shot him a look of disdain before lying back down at Bailey Shuan's feet to rest with his eyes closed. During his business trip, Satoru Gojo hadn't just been completing missions, he had secretly instructed the Gojo family's forces to quietly investigate various clues regarding Bai Li Xuan. She didn't seem to be a hereditary jujutsu sorcerer, and her knowledge of the jujutsu world was practically zero, yet no records of a similar jujutsu sorcerer had been found among the general population either. Judging by her surname, she might be from the country across the sea, but to his surprise, reports came back stating that no record of her entry into the country could be found. Bai Li Xuan seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Could it be that she really was a deity who had just arrived in this world, just as she claimed? Haha, that's just too hilarious. Although he had invited her to Jujutsu High, Satoru Gojo remained on guard since he didn't truly know her. He didn't want to put all the students at Jujutsu High in danger because of one person. Moreover, for some reason, the first time he saw Bai Li Xuan, he felt a sense of familiarity and warmth, and the more they interacted, the stronger this feeling became. Could her cursed technique have some kind of mind-bewitching effect? Did she know it herself? Even though there wasn't a single trace of a cursed technique to be seen. But there was no other explanation, was there? Besides, Xuan Chan's cursed technique was truly powerful. Rather than letting her go and potentially becoming an enemy, it was better to keep her close by like this. Glancing at the former special grade cursed spirit lying on the floor, Satoru Gojo felt things were getting more and more interesting. No matter where Bai Li Xuan's allegiances lay, he wouldn't let anything happen to the students. After all, he was the strongest. Satoru Gojo suddenly remembered something. Xuan Chan, teacher has a question. Bai Li Xuan turned her head toward him and gave a soft hum. A hint of inquiry flashed in Satoru Gojo's eyes, his tone a mix of teasing and probing. I clearly left a note before I went out, telling Xuan Chan to spend money freely, so why did the balance end up increasing? Did Xuan Chan go out and do something bad? Like becoming a curse user or something? Bai Li Xuan thought carefully for a moment before giving a hesitant, vague answer. Maybe. Satoru Gojo's smile widened instantly. What bad things did Xuan Chan do behind teacher's back? Can you tell me? I wouldn't call them bad things, but I certainly did a lot. The card had nearly 100 million more than when he gave it to her, and that wasn't even counting what she had spent. Satoru Gojo. Like what? Bai Li Xuan didn't really care about money, she didn't pay attention to amounts when spending it, and she didn't care much about making it either, she just deposited it as she went. She thought Satoru Gojo was just bored with work and curious about how she spent her time, so she gave him a general summary. That's about it. Not having an ID is actually quite a hassle. I even had to use illusions to confuse the ticket sellers. Satoru Gojo was stunned. So the extra money in the card all came from horse racing. So the reason his business trip ended early was also because of Xuan Chan. Bai Li Xuan shook her head. I only went once, I wasn't interested. Most of it was won by Ao Tian. Hearing his name, Ao Tian looked up at her, got a head pat, and then shot Satoru Gojo a provocative glance. Perhaps it was the classic cat and dog enmity, Satoru Gojo ignored him and pulled out an ID card like a magic trick. Ta-da! Teacher already prepared your identity information for you. Seeing Satoru Gojo's eyes sparkling as he looked at her, practically begging for praise, Bai Li Xuan took the ID and offered some supportive flattery. Go-chan is really, really amazing. Because no information on Xuan Chan could be found at all, Satoru Gojo observed her expression. Your new identity is registered under the Gojo family, you're a distant relative of the Gojo family. Bai Li Xuan nodded, the name on the ID was still hers. She felt that having some proof of identity was enough. As for anything else, as long as it wasn't too ridiculous, she didn't really care. Besides, being in the same family as the kitten wasn't bad either. Seeing that she didn't ask how he knew she was undocumented, Satoru Gojo didn't push further. He cupped his face and tilted his head, asking, so, who exactly is Xuan Chan? And why did you show up at the mission site that day? Can you tell teacher? I've already said I'm a deity from beyond this world who came to save it. Are you questioning me? Bai Li Xuan smiled, but her gaze was unquestionable. Is she actually serious? Satoru Gojo was skeptical. He continued, or they're really deities. Will the world be destroyed in the future? That's just too funny. A cross-shaped vein popped on Bai Li Xuan's forehead. She smiled and said, why don't we have a fight and find out? Xuan Chan is so scary tilde. Satoru Gojo feigned terror while looking eager. Sure thing. Satoru Gojo, kitten wink tilde. The next second, Bailey Shuen suddenly lost her steam and slumped onto the sofa. Next time. Definitely next time. Satoru Gojo wiggled his waist, trying to provoke her. No way, is Shuen-chan actually scared? How could I be? Bailey Shuen chuckled, her eyes filled with 3 parts coldness, 3 parts playfulness, and 4 parts nonchalance. Think I can't handle a little kitten like you? I was being considerate of your hard work and letting you rest for a night, and now it's my fault. I don't want to hurt you, so be a good boy, my little wild cat Tilda. The curve of Satoru Gojo's lips froze, and he suddenly felt a strange chill. Bailey Shuen laughed inwardly. This was the poor kitten who had never been baptized by overbearing CEO literature. Tisk tisk, it's so late and she's lying comfortably at home. Who would want to go out and fight? Fighting gets you all dirty. She'd wait until she was in the mood next time. She stood up and patted the kitten's head as he remained stunned in place. After being away for so many days and only sleeping for that half hour just now, aren't you tired? Go wash up and get some sleep. She said goodnight to Ao Tien, who had retreated to his dog bed, and went straight back to her room. Satoru Gojo snapped out of it and reached up to vigorously mess up the spot Bailey Shuen had just touched, trying to dispel that subtle sensation. Honestly, no respect for her teacher at all. What kind of student always pats their teacher's head? As punishment, he'd make Shuen-chan have a serious fight with him next time. As Satoru Gojo thought about it, his lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. Ao Tien looked at the white-haired man standing there starting to daydream and turned his face away in disgust. Boss is clearly a deity, this idiot is just waiting to be beaten until he cries. HMPH, what kind of decorations did Shuen-chan put in his room? Would it be all pink and soft like the living room? Or the blue that typical boys like? Just thinking about it was fun, like opening a blind box. Before opening the door, Satoru Gojo was still imagining his room's grand transformation. After opening the door and seeing the same black and white toned room as when he left, his smile quickly vanished. Bang, bang, bang. What's wrong? Bailey Shuen opened her door wearing a silk camisole nightgown. Seeing Satoru Gojo standing there with a face full of grievance and eyes full of accusation, she was utterly confused. Satoru Gojo first glanced at the transformed guest room, making his expression even worse. He lowered his head, just about to start scolding Bailey Shuen, when he saw. He like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, he suddenly jumped 3 feet in the air and retreated rapidly. His face turned bright red, and his finger trembled as he pointed at Bailey Shuen. Why are you dressed like that? Bailey Shuen looked down. It seemed perfectly normal. Confused, she asked, like what? Did she have any idea that when someone short dressed like that, a 190 centimeters guy like him could see her from head to toe? Satoru Gojo felt like he was about to start smoking from the heat. He quickly shook the images from his head. I mean, why did you decorate all the rooms but skip mine? He felt more and more aggrieved as he spoke, though he didn't know why he always found it so easy to show such emotions in front of Bailey Shuen. Is that all? Bailey Shuen said with a deadpan face. I thought you liked it that way. Otherwise, why were most of his clothes black? Was it so blood wouldn't show when he killed people or cursed spirits? In the dead of night, Gojo Satoru tossed and turned in bed. It wasn't until late that he finally managed to close his eyes, only to have a night full of embarrassing dreams. He woke up with a start before dawn. Looking at the mess beneath him, he couldn't help but cover his face. Is it because I've been single for too long? How did this happen? Bailey Shuen would want to beat him to death if she knew. Gojo Satoru got up and fished out his phone to check today's missions, intending to head out while Bailey Shuen was still asleep. For the time being, he felt a bit strange whenever he looked at her. She's his student, after all. Gojo Satoru doesn't want to become a terrible adult. Dressed and with bandages wrapped around his eyes, he moved as quietly as possible to the living room, preparing to leave without a sound. After turning on the lights, he immediately froze on the spot. Sitting on the sofa, Bailey Shuen put down her teacup and greeted him with a smile. Good morning, Go-chan Tilda. The fierce-looking Ao Tien glanced at him and went back to pouring tea for Bailey Shuen. Morning, Shuen-chan. Gojo Satoru quickly adjusted his emotions and waved at her while leaning lazily against the doorframe. Let's go. Bailey Shuen stood up calmly. Gojo Satoru. Don't you want to see my strength? Bailey Shuen only realized after Gojo Satoru left yesterday that his provocation was a test of her strength. He likely wanted to see if she was fit to be a teacher at Tokyo Jujutsu High. She certainly wouldn't disappoint him and had gotten ready early to depart. Oh, it's a duel. Gojo Satoru didn't expect Bailey Shuan to take their duel so seriously. Might as well test her strength today. Then, should I just dump the mission on her? That way, I can go straight to eating sweets. Then let's go to Shinjuku together. Gojo Satoru decided, specifically emphasizing, no bringing out Tien tilde. Bailey Shuan, Shinjuku. Isn't that a commercial district? Not letting her bring out Tien meant he really wanted to test her individual ability. Out Tien's objection was overruled, and he was left at home. After a while, Bailey Shuan looked at the abandoned building before her and fell silent. There's actually a place like this in Shinjuku. Bailey Shuan could sense 2 grade 1 cursed spirits inside, along with several grade 3 and 4 cursed spirits. Is this also part of the teacher interview? After Gojo Satoru dropped her off, he stood to the side. Shuan-chan can definitely take them down, right? If you can't win, just shout, Gojo-sensei, save me. And I'll come to the rescue immediately. But if you can't even handle this level, you won't be able to defeat me. I'll go have a strawberry parfait and wait for the good news tilde. Bailey Shuan could exorcise a special grade cursed womb alone, so this mission would definitely be no problem. If she really couldn't win, Gojo-sensei would step in to save poor Shuan-chan in time. Wait. Gojo Satoru was about to turn and leave when Bailey Shuan stopped him. Is Shuan-chan scared? Bailey Shuan's lip twitched slightly. Was she being underestimated? Was she? She took a deep breath and smiled at Gojo Satoru. Wait a moment, Go-chan, it'll be over soon tilde after I'm done with the cursed spirits, I can beat you up. Well, looking forward to it. Seeing Bailey Shuan manifest a long sword out of thin air and charge into the ruins. Gojo Satoru's eyes brightened beneath his bandages. Bailey Shuan is mysterious in every way. Manifesting things like a magician, does she have some kind of pocket dimension? Moreover, to be able to perform such refined cursed energy control, coding a weapon without destroying it, she really is a genius. In less than 5 minutes, Bailey Shuan returned with her sword in hand. Go-chan, ready for a beating. Bailey Shuan shook off the cursed spirit residue and put away her long sword. Oh dear, Shuan-chan, don't be so fierce, or you won't find a boyfriend tilde, Gojo Satoru joked as he grabbed Bailey Shuan and teleported. Since Shuan-chan is so enthusiastically inviting me, I can't refuse anymore. Let's fight somewhere more open. The outskirts of Tokyo were deserted, but considering his destructive power and Bailey Shuan's unknown potential, he thoughtfully decided to put up a veil. You know, he rarely remembered to put up a veil when doing missions himself. Far away, waiting for Gojo Satoru downstairs at his house, Ijichi, Achu. Why hasn't Mr. Gojo come out yet? Ijichi, Kak. Emerge from darkness, blacker than black. Purify that which is impure. A stream of pitch black sludge descended from the sky like a curtain, enveloping the area. Bailey Shuan watched with interest, a barrier. That's right, it's a veil that hides us from the eyes of ordinary people, Gojo Satoru explained. Hearing this, Bailey Shuan remembered when they first met and he forgot to explain what a domain was, leading her to think that cursed spirit knew barrier techniques, almost causing the great god to lose face. Go-chan, let's fight using domains. She smiled with a dark aura. She wondered what Gojo Satoru's domain was. Domains are usually related to one's cursed technique, and Gojo Satoru's technique. By the way, what was your cursed technique again? Bailey Shuan asked. Huh. Gojo Satoru was dumbfounded. Was Bailey Shuan really paying so little attention to him? Although he did subconsciously turn off Limitless when she approached, had he really not mentioned it? Gojo Satoru's face went blank. It's Limitless. He reached out his hand to face Bailey Shuan's palm. Just like this, the closer you get, the more unreachable it becomes. It's the Achilles and the tortoise paradox. I see, Bailey Shuan realized. Her palm continued forward until their skin touched, then her face went blank. I think you're the one who's limitless, shameless, tricking a young girl into experiencing your technique just to turn it off halfway and hold hands. Gojo Satoru jerked his hand back and put some distance between them. How was he supposed to explain that it wasn't intentional? He just thought his student looked too cute when she was being serious and accidentally relaxed. That's exactly why he felt strange. He couldn't stay on guard at all when he was with Bailey Shuan. Gojo Satoru cleared his throat and returned to his usual self. Well then, let's begin. If you want to see my domain, you'll have to force me to open it with your own skill tilde I won't be holding back in my teaching, so be careful, Shuan-chan. Bailey Shuan smiled. Then let's give it a try. This god will give Go-chan some proper guidance too. Gojo Satoru took off the bandages around his eyes and raised his hand into a stance. Cursed technique lapse. Blue. In an instant, azure cursed energy surged from his fingertips like a tide, leveling the ground where Bailey Shuan stood with immense force. After the dust settled, the spot was empty. Get serious, Go-chan. Bailey Shuan appeared silently behind Gojo Satoru with her sword and swung down a slash from midair. The sharp blade light was blocked by Gojo Satoru's limitless just inches away. Failing to land the hit, Bailey Shuan flipped her body and landed steadily. My, looks like I really have to get serious. Gojo Satoru looked at Bailey Shuan and gave a genuine smile. It was only a simple exchange, but it had been a long time since anyone could reach this level. He was really starting to get excited. Satoru Gojo's smile widened instantly. Cursed technique reversal. Red. Bailey Shuan met the attack head-on, facing the shockwave-like strike. Surging cursed energy poured into her long blade, making it hum. She leapt through the air, her blade flashing like a rainbow as she struck down with heavy force, shattering Satoru Gojo's red. Landing gracefully, she flicked her blade and looked at Satoru Gojo with a provocative smile. Is that all? Satoru Gojo made a flicking motion with his fingers. How could it be? This was the move that had once killed Toji Fushiguro. He rarely used it, let alone against a student. However, as a teacher, he had to make sure his student enjoyed herself no matter what. Besides, it was so interesting, truly interesting. He hadn't met someone this interesting in a long time. Seriously, she brought him surprises every single day. Hollow purple. Blue and red, the collision between positive and negative infinity, an annihilation reaction comparable to the power of a black hole. Oppressive energy shot out from Satoru Gojo's fingertips at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Bailey Shuan stood her ground and didn't dodge, merely holding her blade horizontally across her chest, seemingly giving up resistance. Satoru Gojo's pupils constricted. He wanted to pull back the attack, but it was too late. He watched helplessly as a hollow purple blasted toward her. He froze in place, his mind going blank as his nerves throbbed with pain. Amidst the swirling dust, a cough broke the dead silence. Shuan. Satoru Gojo's voice trembled as he asked uncertainly. The dust gradually cleared, and Bailey Shuan's figure became distinct. Only a section of the hilt remained of her long blade, her dress was stained with dust, her usually smooth pink curly hair was a mess, and there was a scratch on her face, likely from a shard when the blade shattered. That's quite impressive, Bailey Shuan praised, looking at Satoru Gojo who was dazed in place. What's wrong? Scared? Thought I was dead? She asked when Satoru Gojo didn't reply. Satoru Gojo let out a soft chuckle. Yeah, for a moment there, I thought I'd killed Shuan. Haha, you're still a long way off from being able to kill a god. Bailey Shuan laughed. She just wanted to experience Satoru Gojo's strength firsthand. He was indeed very strong, nearly causing her to slip up. To avoid looking too pathetic when she came out, she had quietly cast a small healing technique on herself, which was why she was delayed for a moment. This was the first time she had encountered such a strong opponent since coming to this world. Having been idle for so long, she felt like she was starting to get rusty. She was getting excited too. Warm-ups over, Bailey Shuan tossed aside the broken hilt and instantly constructed a massive bone sword with her technique. I'm getting serious now, so accept this divine teaching. Bailey Shuan found weapons constructed with her technique much easier to handle. As a god, her inherent authority was to construct all things, converting that into cursed energy was the same. Compared to a mage, like Satoru Gojo, she was more skilled as a close combat warrior. Bailey Shuan raised the bone sword, which was nearly as tall as she was, and charged straight at Satoru Gojo. Satoru Gojo put away his playful smile, seriously erecting his limitless and activating his 6 eyes to try and find a weakness. As the heavy sword clashed with the limitless, ripples shimmered in the air. Satoru Gojo's brain throbbed. Operating the 6 eyes to this extent was difficult to bear even with the reverse curse technique. But his blood was boiling, he was so excited. He let out a frenzied laugh and, at the cost of his limitless shattering, gathered his strength and repelled Bailey Shuan. Before he could rebuild his limitless, Bailey Shuan charged at him again with her heavy sword. He only had time to block the sharp edge before being smashed heavily into the ground in the distance. Cough, cough. Hey, Satoru Gojo sat up from the dust, wiped the blood from his brow, activated his reverse curse technique, and smiled. Did Xuan-chan really want to kill me just now? Bailey Xuan deactivated her technique and reached out to him. No, I was just taking my battle with Satoru seriously. Satoru Gojo used her hand to stand up. Ha ha ha, I certainly enjoyed myself. In your current state, Satoru, can you still use domain expansion? Bailey Xuan looked at him with a smile. Ha, are you provoking me? Satoru Gojo's eyes of the blue sky stared straight back at her. Bailey Xuan spread her hands. I'm just worried about whether Satoru will run out of cursed energy. It's fine, I am the strongest. After all, Satoru Gojo raised his hand to form a seal. Besides, Xuan-chan will take me back, right? Satoru Gojo's eyes were shining brightly. Domain expansion. Unlimited void. Pulled into the pitch-black domain, Bailey Xuan's mind stalled for a split second. Just as Satoru Gojo was about to release the domain, she moved. Domain expansion. Realm of divine creation. The pitch-black domain was replaced by a bright light. Satoru Gojo forcibly suppressed the metallic taste of blood in his throat and looked at Bailey Xuan sitting on a high throne. My domain is the realm of divine creation, Bailey Xuan spoke slowly from her divine throne with a playful look. The domain's effect allows me to construct anything within it, including augmented humans. For example, I could give you a pair of cat ears. After Bailey Xuan's technique was revealed, Satoru Gojo felt completely unable to resist, enduring the subtle discomfort of his flesh and blood being restructured. Bailey Xuan blocked his perception of pain. Looking at the pair of twitching pinkish-white ears newly added to the top of his head, she nodded with satisfaction and then deactivated the domain. After leaving the domain, Satoru Gojo's body swayed slightly, and he raised a hand to touch his new ears. Bailey Xuan stood on her tiptoes to touch them too. Don't worry, I set them to last for 24 hours, they'll turn back tomorrow. Though, they did feel very nice to the touch. Satoru Gojo wasn't concerned about that. He hadn't spoken since expanding his domain. He had many questions, such as whether a bug-level domain like this had any binding vows on the owner, why the domain's effect didn't disappear after it was released, and, are there really gods? There are no binding vows. I can do this even without opening a domain, but in this world, I have to follow the world's rules. Bailey Xuan tilted her head with a look of pride. I am an omnipotent god. There's no one in this world who can bind me. Satoru Gojo. Did I say that out loud? Bailey Xuan. So, did I pass my interview? Satoru Gojo. So she thought this was an entrance interview for Jujutsu High. To avoid being stared at by ordinary people or even having the police called, the two went to the busy district of Shinjuku to buy clothes and change. Satoru Gojo adapted well to his new ears and rejected the suggestion to wear a hat. People will just think they're electric decorations anyway. Soon, the two were sitting in the dessert shop with the strawberry parfaits Satoru Gojo had been craving. Bailey Xuan frowned at the calorie bomb in front of her. Is this really good? It looked so sweet. Satoru Gojo was already eating and said indistinctly, it's good. Bailey Xuan tried a spoonful. Bailey Xuan. It's so sweet. Although she didn't hate sweets and even liked them a bit, how is this sweetness any different from what was in Satoru Gojo's fridge? Yeah, the ones with triple sugar are the best. Satoru Gojo had already finished his portion. If Xuan-chan isn't going to eat it, I will tilde. With that, he directly took Bailey Xuan's parfait. Bailey Xuan. Triple sugar. You did that on purpose. Satoru Gojo feigned grievance and twitched his ears. But Xuan-chan hit me so hard today, and the 6 eyes consumed a lot of energy. I need to replenish my sugar. Fine then. By the way, Xuan, since you're a god and can do whatever you want, why come to save the world? Because I'm a god. Initially, she had just traveled around out of curiosity, but after seeing so much of life's variety, she realized that a god's love for humanity was etched into their very bones. After finishing his dessert, Satoru Gojo went off to do a mission. Before Bailey Xuan left, she was stopped by a waiter. Miss, this is the half-sugar tiramisu that gentleman ordered for you. Thank you. She took it and shook her head with a smile. Satoru Gojo really is. After waiting for several hours, Ijichi finally received a call from Satoru Gojo. Ijichi, 20 minutes. Come to the strawberry parfait shop in Shinjuku to pick me up. If you're late, I'll slap you. Yes. How is 20 minutes even possible? And what the hell is a strawberry parfait shop? It has a name, you know. The bandages had long been lost during his fight with Bailey Xuan. At this moment, a 1.9-meter tall handsome man with white hair, blue eyes, and cat ears was leaning against a utility pole, waiting for someone. He seemed to know he was very good looking, allowing passersby to cast curious glances, and he would even wink playfully at them when they made eye contact. After rejecting several passersby who tried to hit on him, Ijichi finally managed to arrive within 20 minutes by taking a shortcut, relying on his years of experience surviving under Satoru Gojo. As soon as Satoru Gojo sat in the car, Ijichi noticed the cat ears on his head that were completely out of place with his usual image, and he kept glancing at the rearview mirror throughout the ride. How is it? Does it look good? Satoru Gojo placed a clenched fist against his cheek. It was done by my cute student. Yes. Ijichi, having been caught, responded subconsciously. Seeing Satoru Gojo's threatening smile, he realized what he had just asked. It looks good. Is it that Shuan-chan from last time? I'm so curious. Ijichi, why do I feel like you're being reluctant? Cold sweat broke out on Ijichi's forehead. Mr. Gojo, it looks good. Satoru Gojo, you're sensible enough. Ijichi, cack. Being cat-casted by your own student and then making others compliment you, is this really okay, Mr. Gojo? On the way back, Bailey Shuan brought some delicious food for Ao Tien, who had been left alone at home, and then the human and the dog spent most of the day lying around at home. Ao Tien sat next to Bailey Shuan, holding a milk tea, and asked, Boss, did you get hurt today? Satoru Gojo, as a special grade sorcerer, was very strong. Even Ao Tien, who was also a special grade, could feel a full sense of oppression in his presence. Unlike Bailey Shuan's restrained power, Satoru Gojo's was flamboyant. Although Ao Tien knew that Bailey Shuan was a god beyond reproach, he couldn't help but worry that she might suffer a setback at the hands of Satoru Gojo. Looking at the black-haired boy's concerned expression, Bailey Shuan felt a sense of relief, as if, my child has finally grown up. How rare. Ao Tien's first reaction wasn't to help her fight back, but to worry about whether she was injured. Bailey Shuan shook her head with satisfaction. Nope. A little kitten can at most scratch someone, how could it hurt this deity? Ao Tien nodded, turning his face away with a heavy expression. As expected, he is just Bailey Shuan's dog, and Satoru Gojo is the cat she chose. Even so, Satoru Gojo shouldn't think he could shake his position. He was the only dog that Bailey Shuan had personally raised from a low-level cursed spirit. The two in the serenity pot that hadn't gained sentience didn't count. Bailey Shuan wouldn't even bother to pay attention to them. Satoru Gojo was already this big, there was no need for Bailey Shuan to raise him. Roughly speaking, Bailey Shuan only raised him, Ao Tien. Thinking of this, Ao Tien's mood instantly turned from cloudy to sunny, and he sat back in his original spot, satisfied, to continue drinking his milk tea. Bailey Shuan watched Ao Tien, wondering what he was thinking about that made his expression look so bad, only for him to coax himself into a better mood a moment later. She shook her head, amused. Suddenly, she remembered she seemed to have forgotten something. It seemed she hadn't asked Satoru Gojo what that finger was. So, after Satoru Gojo returned in the evening, a finger was shoved right in front of him. What is this? Bailey Shuan handed over the finger. Whoa, Satoru Gojo had thought there were enough surprises for today, but he didn't expect that as soon as he returned, Bailey Shuan would give him another big surprise. He took the finger to inspect it. This is a special grade cursed object, Ryomen Sukuna's finger. It's the real deal. Ryomen Sukuna. Ryomen Sukuna was the strongest curse user from the Heian Kyo period 1,000 years ago, known as the King of Curses, possessing 2 faces and 4 arms. After he died, his 20 fingers turned into special grade cursed objects and were sealed in various corners of Japan, Satoru Gojo explained. Bailey Shuan made a speechless face. What is this for? Why not just destroy them? Are you waiting for someone to collect all 20 fingers to summon Ryomen Sukuna? Because they can't be destroyed, but that's a good idea. Satoru Gojo said with great interest, but summoning Sukuna would require a vessel, right? And who could have foreseen that people in the world 1,000 years later would try to resurrect him? The corners of Bailey Shuan's mouth curled up slightly. It's not entirely impossible, you know. Has Go-chan forgotten why I'm here? Satoru Gojo's smile froze instantly. Did you see Sukuna in the future, Shuan? Bailey Shuan shook her head gently. I only saw a few scenes. One where there were hardly any people left in Japan, and one of you. Satoru Gojo asked expectantly, me? Could it be that I was coolly saving humanity? Bailey Shuan glanced at him, her tone calm. No, you died. Satoru Gojo. So, he re-examined the purplish-red finger in his hand, dangerous light flickering in his eyes. Where did Shuan-chan get this? Saitama, 88 Bridge. It fell off a cursed spirit. Bailey Shuin replied. Saitama. It was the place where Fushiguro Megumi and Sumiki lived. In recent years, there had been an abnormally high rate of death and coma cases there, including Fushiguro Megumi's sister, Sumiki, who was also one of those in a coma. The Jujutsu world had conducted an investigation, and Satoru Gojo had personally visited Sumiki, but found no signs of anything unusual. However, recently some of the comatose patients had begun to wake up, but they had no memory of what happened before they fell into a coma. Now, almost all the comatose patients had woken up, except for Sumiki, who remained in a deep sleep. Satoru Gojo later visited Sumiki again, and just like before, he couldn't see any reason for her coma. If it were Bailey Shuin, she should be able to figure out what was going on. Shuin-chan, just keep this finger with you, Satoru Gojo smiled, are you free sometime soon? I'd like to take you to see a child. Sure, Bailey Shuin answered nonchalantly. She was bored to death all day, watching her future colleague working so hard every day while she just lay at home playing games and binge-watching shows. Actually, her conscience didn't hurt that much. Ao Tien yawned, he was actually quite bored too. Over the next few days, Satoru Gojo left early and returned late, so the two of them almost never crossed paths. Bailey Shuin couldn't help but sigh that Jujutsu sorcerers were really busy. Perhaps it was the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer who was really busy. Because he was the strongest, did he have to both exorcise cursed spirits and be a teacher? She began to regret it a little, but the world consciousness was too weak and the information it gave her was limited. Jujutsu sorcery was a secret industry unknown to the public, and if she wanted to get more information, it was best to stay by Satoru Gojo's side. Hopefully school starts soon. Considering how hard Satoru Gojo worked every day, when Bailey Shuin went out to play with Ao Tien, she would occasionally bring back desserts for Satoru Gojo, with triple the sugar. Satoru Gojo was always quite happy and even started pushing his luck by placing orders. Bailey Shuin wouldn't spoil him. At most, she would bring him some next time she wanted to go out and play. Satoru Gojo protested loudly, but the protest was invalid. Bailey Shuin, whatever the owner gives, the little kitten must eat. Satoru Gojo. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 is coming soon.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel for more stories.